man lives. My...
All right, we're live, Gruff. You can welcome people. We haven't started a cold open.
Rules.
Oh, you want to just go into it straight away?
I was just going to go straight into it.
Oh, okay, yeah, go for it. Okay.
Everybody. These are the rules. Nobody fights. Nobody quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. Welcome to the Gruffnecks, and welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music. Every man lives. Not every man truly dies. Yep. I don't know what I'm behind, so I'm just going to say hello.
Hello guys, how you doing?
This is North me, and this is here on this side of the road.
Hello!
Andy's having a bad music.
I was going to say, do we have Andy?
Yeah. I was playing the music, the intro music for you.
Because I can't hear it. It's all fucked up.
Yep. No, that's fine. That's well, unless you want me to edit the show, that's your problem.
That's a problem for future Adam to deal with, and future Adam will deal with it.
And you got to remember that the audio, like the music, hasn't been recorded. It's just for the stream.
Of course,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Cool.
And it's all stuff that I will deal with tomorrow. And
Yay!
It's fine by me.
I like that
I don't-
attitude. It's very Zechian, you know?
The future version of me that will deal with this shit, he will hate past me, but past me right now doesn't care because past me has a lovely cup of raspberry tea.
You want to be really careful, though, Adam. Like, you know, in the 40k universe, the Zechian followers, they actually can influence their past selves. That does happen.
Mm.
You don't want
So what-
future Gruff reaching back and punishing you for this.
It depends on the punishment. Because obviously, it tends to nothing sexual. I'm not talking about some kind of weird.
No, that's Slanesh, isn't it? I mean, we haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah, if you know, I came back in time, gave myself a reach around, that's going to be something that's a little bit weird, and probably would destroy the universe. So I might actually do that.
Wait, why would it? Why would it be weird if you're doing it to yourself? Why would that be weird?
Because it's a version of me that'll be slightly older, and I might not like him as much.
Yeah, but it's just like tugging off your younger self.
Might
It's,
smell weird.
God,
Yeah,
this one
it's like
went downhill fast.
It's like tugging myself off, but at the same time, I can make a jam sandwich. So, win-win.
To be fair, I think it'd only be weird if you got your younger self to tug you off as your older self. I think that's where the issue is.
It depends on what you mean by younger self. If you talk about a couple of weeks, then all right, that's all right, that's fine.
I mean, you're like 60, and I mean, like a week from now, you're like that one.
Right.
90-year-old Gruff is like, come on, you Gruff, give me a little saucy seconds.
Okay.
So you know about like 50-year-old me going back to 18-year-old Adam, because that was although I did have good hair at that time, so it might help.
Fabulous hair. Fabulous hair.
Wow. So, yeah, there's the tone set for this episode of the Fluffenhammer.
It's true. You're welcome.
Well, yeah, we are going to be talking about being old. So,
Speak for yourself.
I'm a zombie, so I can't really say too much.
No, I was gonna
My
say,
aging
you're
process
all
is
right, are you
done.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're sort of out of the spectrum now, aren't
Yeah.
you? You're just sort of...
I go from where I am now to a pile of dust. That's it.
Yeah.
unless somebody like comes up to you and then reanimates the skeleton that's inside you.
That's true.
Which leads to a really interesting point, actually. Right. Say that a zombie master comes along and reanimates you as a zombie, or it's a bacterial virus, or you know, the moon's wet, or something like that, and the zombie happens. Would there be a zombie and a ghost version of you?
Well, I've always thought like a cool character for the undead would be like the Shattered One, where the spirit is separated from the body, and they're kind of like still. You know Vilch, how Vilch has like the big brother body, and then the little serpent, but like that, but with a ghost. So you have you have the spirit disconnected from the body, but they still retain the almost two individual personalities at the same time. I thought that'd be a neat idea.
Yeah.
So the body has. The body has the bestial nature, whilst the mind has the higher intellect.
Yeah, and the only way you could destroy them is by destroying both, because one or the other could reanimate the other.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Interesting.
That's a really cool idea.
I thought it'd be a neat idea.
Like, getting into
Yeah.
the psychology of necromancy here. I kind of like that.
It's also a way to marry the Night Haunt and the Death Rattle together in a bit more of a nice union, which I like the idea of.
Yeah, it's cool. It's
Absolutely.
very cool.
Yeah.
Because you could do like I mean, from a modeling perspective, it would be loads of fun, wouldn't it? Because you could do both like the living and spectral versions of characters, right?
Yeah. If you
Great
want to do like the really easy version, it's just you get a nice warrior model, you get a skeleton head, and then you get one of the spirit host spirits, and you just plug them onto the back. And that's the simple way to do it, I suppose.
Yeah,
But you can go much more
effective, though,
elaborate. Yeah.
Look good.
Right, all you need is, say, let's take one of the Cursey characters, right? The paladin type class, right? So you cut her head off, which I've said that out loud, I feel really bad for. You cut her head off, replace that with a skeleton head. Then you get the spirit host body, put her head on the spirit host body with one of her arms, put a skeleton arm on her actual body. And what you've then got is that merging of the themes between the two. And you've got a really simple, really effective looking miniature.
Yeah.
It's one of the
That would be
benefits,
very
isn't it,
cool.
of like the undead ranges that you can do stuff like that. I mean, I've always found that really attractive about them.
Do we know when like the 3rd edition Soulblight Gravelords are getting their book?
Oh, it won't be for a while.
I would.
Well, I mean, you say that, but the Lumineth seem to get a book like every month.
Right, it's
You know.
it's hard to sell, isn't it, with AOS these days?
Yeah.
Because it's been so weird. The releases they've been good. They've all been good, but they've been so odd in terms of the choices made and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to consider like there's one mini that the book could have in now, and that's the Hollow King. The Hollow King's a new mini who actually needs special rules because they got him, and they've got the quote unquote rules on the back, but he apparently has no special rules. There's nothing special about him. It just has the stat line for him, and that's it. And I don't believe that's true. I think in the whatever future battle tome, there'll actually be something to him, and I'm hoping they will be. It's the hope and the dream of one new character or one new something. That they because usually when a battle tome comes out, the army gets one thing, right?
They
usually
get
a character
or something updated or something like that.
Have the Ogre Moor tribes got anything?
No one likes the ogres. It's like the Flesh Eater course. They don't get anything either. I mean, the Flesh Eaters have like 5 units, don't they?
True, yeah.
Unfortunately.
3.5.
It's true, and it's a shame because they could really do with AOSing properly.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Absolutely.
Like properly AOSing.
Yeah, I do.
You get a box full of the Crypt Ghouls, and in that box you also get a sprue full of Bretonians, and you just smash them together.
Yeah, that would work. That would definitely work.
That would make me very happy.
It'd be more fun because I really like. I've got Crypt Ghouls to paint, but I don't like them. I don't think they look cool. Like you get the Crypt Horrors, they look cool. Yeah, the Crypt Horrors aren't like super new, are they? But I think they look good. They're more dynamic. They're more interesting to look at. They've got a bit more to them. You look at these Crypt Ghouls, and they're just they're like
so old.
They kind of remind me of 2001: Space Odyssey when the monkeys are beating each other to death with bones. Like they don't look cool.
I like using them for bits. The kit is very good for like conversions, but in and of themselves, now they're naff.
What are they good for converting into?
Well, I use them to convert into like weird, chaotic homunculi and things.
Oh, that
Hang
makes
on, I've got
sense.
one of them. I think I've got a couple of them knocking around here somewhere.
Because I was actually trying to think like what I could use for them. I had no idea. I was looking at them going, could I turn them into something and use them to build into something better? I was like, I don't think I've got the parts.
So I've got one there, and it's sort of like a Slaneshi cultist. So it's sort of like bent over and hunched, and it's got like bits from racks attached to it and all sorts of stuff. He's a very nasty.
Yeah. I was going to say, isn't that that ghoul kit? Isn't that from like wartime era?
Yeah, it's very old. It's like it's one of the earlier. I don't know like quite when it came out, but it was very. What edition of the Vampire Counts was it? It wasn't the first book. But
No,
it may
no.
have been the second Vampire Counts book that these were released for.
Well, yeah, probably second, because it would have been like around the time when the multi-part kits started coming out, I would imagine. So yeah, it must have been around then.
So,
Same for like the Corpse Cart as well, right? The Corpse Cart must have came out around then, which hasn't changed either.
but no, it has not.
Bless it.
It's a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I was thinking, like, clearly what they did with the Soul Blight Gravelords is they got the Cursed City expansion box set, which was Radakar the Beast, the lady vampire with the mask, with the long dress, whatever she's called.
Annika, is it, or something like that?
Maybe it's Annika? Yeah, the Rat Prince and the Fellbats. And they went, how about we put all of those expansions and we just put them into the main line? And we can tell this by what the expansion box is and how empty it is and how clearly it needed the actual miniatures in it. So what else could they do? Are we going to get in the next Soul Blight Gravelords the rest of the expansions for Cursed City to come out then? Or are they going to put something else a little bit more substantial in there? Because it'd be nice to get, like we say, like a new Corpse Cart would be nice to get refreshed, because that's old. The Blood Coven, the Mortis Engine, that kit which is 3 things. Any of those to get re-updated?
I mean, that is a lovely kit, that one. I love that so much.
The Mortis Engine's not that old, though, compared to a lot of the other stuff.
Isn't it?
No, the Mortis Engine came in the end times, didn't it?
Okay.
It did, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's not like a terrible kit or anything. It's just it's one of the older things. Black Knights need to change, though. Black Knights are in desperate need of a change, and same with Graveguard, because they're not fun kits to build.
Especially in context with that White King on his steed. It
100%.
just doesn't work, does it?
No.
And it's a shame, because they're good cavalry, right?
No.
They're very good cavalry in the game, you know?
That's not what I hear. I hear the Black Knights are bad, and they haven't been good since.
That's a shame.
Yeah, they haven't been good in the previous edition, and they're still not good now, unless they've had an update.
They used to be amazing.
Yeah, they're apparently really bad. It's like, don't take them.
What a shame.
Yeah,
mind you, that said, you do have them in the same book as the Vampire Cavalry, right? Which is probably a mistake, because the Vampire Cavalry is always going to win out, right?
Well, I think there's a way you do the Blood Knights as your heavy cav, and you make them obviously more expensive and whatnot, and you have the other ones. Their benefit will be the light cav, but they can come back to life, and I think that's
that's probably the way to do it.
They're more for harrowing than going and just attacking and.
You can use them for like capturing points or like chasing down wizards or archers or something like that.
Or like disruption units. Yeah.
Why are you laughing? That's what you do.
I just really like the idea of down wizards. Just really like the idea of this poor wizards like running hell down a battlefield. It's like, these fucking ghosts won't stop chasing me.
You'd be surprised how fun it is in Total War Warhammer to chase down archers with a pack of dire wolves and just see the dogs jump on them. Especially when they're like handgunners as well, or like mortars or any heavy artillery things. They're just crippling your army, your undead army. Having your dogs go and balk on them is quite fun. The best.
This is the one that's. I think they're probably going to tone this one down in the next FAQ.
Yeah, you said last time we talked that they were a little bit overpowered, and I think I've heard other people say similar things as well.
In AOS, you've got to look at them in context of AOS, because, like in Age of Sigmar, any long range is good, right? Any long range gives you an immediate advantage. This entire army has long range and mortal wound output.
Go on, show us a fancy page in there.
It's absolutely. I mean, the big one I'm looking at. There's a cult, the cult of summoners, and their little special rule, and it's only a little special rule, but it's significant. Is that there's always a mechanic for summoning the demons, right? You can, you get in this. It's fate points. So every time a spell is cast, either by your side or the enemy side, and it's not dispelled, you get a fate point, right? So in AOS, that's a lot of fate points racking up per turn, right?
Right.
Because spells are significant, yeah. For most armies, spells are pretty significant. The Guild of Summoners allows you to summon Lords of Change for only, I think it's 9 points apiece.
That sounds very, very cheap.
It's bonkers. Yeah. That's pretty bonkers. It means that you could potentially summon multiple Lords of Change, you know, which is a bit crazy, to be honest, because they are some of the best non-character units. Yeah, 9 fate points to summon the first. Oh, the way it works is 9 fate points to summon the first time, 18 the second time, and so on. But even that is really good compared to how much they normally cost, which is 30 points, right?
Wow.
Which is balanced. That makes sense. But that's pretty nasty. The Pyrophane cult, they allow you, so like, you know how your Kyric acolytes, your mortal servants of Zeech in this book, they have like a magic attack. They can hurl magical bolts, which are not that powerful in and of themselves, but they can cast a lot of them. With the Pyrophane cult, any unit that suffers wounds as a result of that has the potential to then have mortal wounds stacked on top of that. It's pretty nasty, you know?
Wow.
And again, this isn't like, say, 40k, where that wouldn't really be such a big deal, because a lot of armies have stuff like that. In AOS, it really, really, really is. Because there's a lot of stuff in this book, I find, that very few armies have an answer to in AOS.
Oh.
I think they're probably going to FAQ that one a little bit.
It sounds like it.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. Horrors, again, are kind of a problem. They've always been a problem, haven't they, with the splitting rule?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There are certain armies where I just don't know. If you have multiple horror units in one of these armies, I don't really know how certain armies are going to cope with them.
Can you make it work by like having it as a roll? Like you roll to see if they actually split?
I think that's what they've done. But even given, let me have a look. I think that's certainly what they've done in the 40k version. In the 40k version, they only split on a 4+. But even then, you're still going to get a unit that grows on average rather than diminishes, right? Which is problematic. Let me have a look. In this one, you just choose. So you can choose. They've got 2 abilities, right? You can either choose to have them split, or you can have this rule called Petty Vengeance. And Petty Vengeance means if an enemy unit kills a horror, it explodes and it deals mortal wounds to them. But even that's pretty nasty, right?
Well, yeah.
They're a problematic unit. I mean, I like it. I like the split rule. I think it's really characterful and fun and weird, and it suits the Zeech stuff really, really well. But it is, I'd say if you've got more than a unit of horrors, if you've got 2 full units of horrors, they're going to be really difficult to shift.
I have an answer. And that answer is war! And you just hit them until they stop moving.
Difficult.
Or my other answer is, apparently, I haven't looked this up yet, so I don't know how true it is. There is a way to put a steam tank into one of the Caradron Overlord ships.
Oh, wow.
The old school steam engines. The Empire ones.
The steam tanks.
I love those. I love those bits.
They're great.
So I quite like the idea of doing a bombing run with the big ship, then just dropping a steam tank down. But then, saying that, if that's the case, does that not also mean that you could have something like, I don't know, a war altar, or like a Daughters of Cain war altar? If that's the ability you've got, and you can ally with Daughters of Cain, fly it in, drop a war altar down.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
And then you're just decimating everything in the center of the battlefield. I'm going to say you're not allowed to do that, but that's not going to stop it.
Yeah, again, it's mortal wounds output, really. That's the big thing with these guys. They're going to be a well-structured Disciples of Zeech army. If it's well chosen, is going to be just hurling mortal wounds out.
They've been firing up the meta, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've been going right up the rankings.
But then again, do you guys remember Zeech armies in the fantasy system have always been like this?
Yes.
Since way back when, it's always been the case that Zeech armies are pains. They're absolute pains. I think it's because they are, in terms of the meta of the fantasy system, they're just so strange. It's less of the case in AOS. There are more armies that have more in the way of like weird spells and long range capabilities, like the Lumineth, for example, and the Daughters of Cain are another one. They've got quite a lot of long range stuff. The Hedonites of Slaanesh have got tons of long range stuff. But there's very little in the game that does it as well as these guys. That's the God's honest truth. And you've got so many mobile units as well, you know, like Enlightened and Skyfires and so on.
And the disc people, right?
It's a weird little army. Exactly that. It's a weird little army. I really like them, I've got to say, but I think they may be a little bit overpowered.
Are there Chaos Knights on discs in that book, or is that like, do you think that'll be a Slaves to Darkness thing?
There are not Chaos Knights on discs per se, which is a shame. I would love to see that unit. I would love
because they're very fun and one of the top units in Total War Warhammer. And I like, again, they look very cool. So I like them.
They used to exist once upon. They used to exist in 40k once upon a time. You could take them in 40k, but you can't anymore, unfortunately. I would love to see.
I have the rules for them in here.
In the Thousand Suns army, wouldn't you just love to see like a unit of maybe not Rubricae because they'd have difficulty staying on the discs probably, but like sorcerers on discs, a unit of rather than a an HQ, like an elite choice maybe.
Just I'm getting a quick look to see if I can find them. I can't quickly see them.
They're not in that book, Gruff. They're in Lost and the Damned.
Fine. I'll get the other one out.
Thousand Suns and Death Guard, Lost and the Damned.
Yeah. Get the other one out. That's fine. No, I'm not going to look through books. That's just silly. So, shall we get on to talking about some of the releases, news, and comments?
Yeah. Why not? There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There is a lot more than I thought. Yeah,
me too. Me too. Did you guys watch this stream, by the way?
No.
I forgot it was on.
I didn't know it was on either. I will fully admit. It's one of the very few where I completely forgot.
No, it was already happening and halfway through before I realised it was going on. Which time was too late for me to be able to see.
I'm kind of sad now because there was a lot of stuff that I'd really like in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been meaning to get back and try to rewatch it to see it, but I just haven't had the chance. But that's okay because together we can hold each other's hands and go down this little route as we celebrate the fact that 40k turned 35 fucking years old.
Aye. I mean, I meant to ask you guys, like, when did you come into 40k? What edition was it? And, how did you get in?
Do you want to go first, Rob?
For me, for me, it was second ed proper, but I was already getting White Dwarf because I was already into Fantasy Battle by that point. So, you would see a lot of the Rogue Trader rules. You'd see a lot of that weird point in 1990, 1991, where it was still Rogue Trader, but it was moving into being a more solidified game.
Yeah, when the White Dwarf was sort of like pruning all the abstruse role-playing stuff away a little bit.
Yeah, when you get the compendiums and all that type of stuff, and you had like Chaos Squats and
Noise Marines and Corn Berserkers for the first time, yeah,
and of course
because they weren't in the first army list, were they?
They were not.
They weren't. Not. It's a weird thing to think, isn't it? No Corn Berserkers in the World Eaters, right?
Well, it's crazy to think that when Rogue Trader first hit, there wasn't a proper Horus Heresy. It was throwaway line.
No.
It's a very, very small part of the Rogue Trader book. And then you get the Bill King 12-page extravaganza, which explains what the Horus Heresy was, which has just ended up being the basis of everything for
right.
For the last 10 years now of Horus Heresy books. It all comes out of that 12 treatment. It's absolutely incredible.
What a strange thing, right? And no Primarchs then either.
No. There's the names.
Horus
was
a human general, right? Horus was just a human general of the under the Emperor's employ, right?
Yeah, and then you get retcon that happens in the first compendium, I think it is.
Mhm.
Kind of explains the ideas of the Space Marines and the Primarchs. But you've got to remember, at that point, the Space Marines, although incredibly fascist, were all Judge Dredd. You know,
They were just people in
the Space
armor,
Marines that
weren't
we
they?
see. Yeah, they weren't what we see as being the
It was the armor that made a
yeah.
Space Marine. They weren't genetically modified or anything like that. I think they might have
Well,
still been psycho-indoctrinated, but they
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah.
physically changed.
No, because you had like Inquisitors or you had actual just normal Imperial Guard guys wandering around in power armor as well. You know, it's
That's
absolutely
right.
brilliant.
That's right. Yes, anybody could technically wear forms of power armor back
Yeah.
then. I mean, you still see a little bit of that now with the Inquisitors, don't you? Because Inquisitors can wear modified power armor still.
Yeah. It's, oh my fucking Christ! Why did I even bother doing this? This is ridiculous. What was I going to say? Yeah. So then second came out, and I got hold of that, and the cardboard dreadnought is still to this day one of my favorite things ever made ever.
He's good. I like him.
It's so colourful. And if anyone has seen that wonderful grot dreadnought that somebody made, which is the cardboard dreadnought being held up by 15 grots behind it, and there's a little hole cut out with a little grot head looking out.
Awesome. That's brilliant.
And it's just them carrying it around the battlefield. It's amazing. I love it.
And depending on the belief as well would depend on how like durable that would be as well, right? So potentially, if Space Marines couldn't penetrate it, even though it's just cardboard.
That's right. AP4 cardboard.
Yeah.
And,
oh my god.
Right, allow me to get down into the nitty gritty of what I did. Second Ed 40k. Are you ready for this? All right. I played orcs.
Hey, what?
A lot of people did back then, didn't they? A lot of people did. They were very popular back then.
And then I went to Tyranids.
Yeah, and again, that happened a lot too.
Yeah, I can just feel the surprise just coming off everyone.
Yeah, right.
And then I made my own Space Marine chapter. And it was a Space Marine chapter that had been caught in a warp storm, fighting nothing but orcs for thousands and thousands of years. So they'd had no reinforcements. They'd had no nothing to help replenish their supplies. And of course, because they were an offset of the Blood Angels, they needed blood, so they were drinking orc blood. So what you ended up with was I don't know how to say this, because remember, I was 14, right? They all looked like Spawn. I'm sorry. I painted the colours of Spawn, the comic character. I gave all the heroes the cloaks, the big, high neck pieces. They were Spawn. I made a Space Marine chapter that looked like Todd McFarlane's Spawn. I'm sorry.
To be 100% fair, on a Space Marine, I think that colour scheme would be quite good.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
The black and the white and...
The idea wasn't bad. My paint skills were fucking awful. So, it didn't work. But, it's fine. I might revisit it at some point, but... just for one miniature for a laugh. But so that's how I got into 40k way back when.
Wow.
I stuck with the Tyranids till the end of 4th edition, I think.
4th edition, wow. So you stuck with them for a long time, yeah?
Yeah, I stayed with the Nids for quite some time.
Through lots of changes as well. Lots of changes to the army.
What made you drop out of them?
4th edition. That's why everyone else dropped out.
Pretty much, yeah. At that time, my interest in playing Warhammer was really set to this out. I was still doing a little bit of fantasy battle, but most of it was just board games and something. 4th Ed was a really bad edition. Let's just call a spade a spade. It was a really bad, and it was very much the beginning of the tournament play idea.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of not enjoying the games as much.
It was the height of really bad Games Workshop on a company level as well, wasn't it? Like that was the very, very, very pinnacle of the worst practices by Games Workshop.
And to call a spade, the Tyranids by that point were fucking disgraceful.
They were not good. They were not good. I was reading through that codex again recently.
It's bad.
It's bad, isn't it? It's like I don't. It's really. it's not just bad. It's like non-functional.
Yeah.
There are parts of it that just don't make sense in that game system. Units that like just seem to fly in the face of the existing rule system of the time. It's so weird.
Yeah, well, if I was a betting man, I would say was that the Tyranids at that point were the marine killers. They were the absolute marine killers. They would just run their way through everything that the Marines had. And so our Lord and Saviour Matt Ward, when he came to it, he decided to nerf them as much as he could. And
They were
that's exactly what
nerfed,
yeah. They got absolutely reamed, and they stayed that way for some time. Unfortunately, it annoys me with that codex. On my soapbox now. It annoys me with that codex that you something like the Tyranids, whose very base concept is that they are constantly mutable, evolving creation. Make it the most stationary, concrete thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
They're slow. You can't do anything with them. You've got next to no choices with them. It is awful. It was awful.
Particularly egregious coming on the back of the previous codex, right? Which was like probably one of the best Tyranid codices there's ever been. That was
the amount of choice you got. Yeah.
It was crazy, wasn't it? You could have stuff like the mutable. You had the distinction between mutable genuses and non-mutable genuses, right? So the mutable genuses were the ones where you could just upgrade them like crazy. Like your Hormagaunts, your Termagants, even Gene Stealers could have weird weapons back then. They could have things like venom cannons and whatnot, you know? So weird.
Exploding sacks and long hooking tongues. Do you remember the ability to make the Screamer Killer the Carnifex a burrowing creature?
Yes, yes. So it could deep strike, right? You could have an honest to God deep striking Carnifex.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare. That sounds very cool.
It's brilliant.
It was. I mean,
well, that's what it was doing. Because any time it came up, it did wounds to anything that came up underneath. So what people would do is they would have it coming up underneath tanks, just flipping tanks, just destroying them. And just like wiping out the Russes, you know.
It was bonkers. I mean, that Tyranid, I mean, it was great fun. And it had such character as well. Like every page oozed character. But I think
literally oozed.
It was literally right, like alien slime and mucus and whatnot. It was the same problem that existed with the 3.5 Chaos Space Marines Codex. It was just too good, right? It was just too good. The problem Games Workshop had back then is when they came up with a good product like the 3.5 Chaos Space Marine Codex or that Tyranid Codex, rather than working to bring all of the other codices up to that level, they just nerfed them. And they nerfed them so hard and with very little in the way of consideration. They had this habit of just ripping all the character out of the army. And that lasted for a whole edition. You know, because it wasn't like now where, things are a little bit more mutable and updatable. It was like, oh, sorry, your army sucks. Well, that's it until, a couple of editions' time, maybe, when they get the new codex?
You remember how slow the Eldar were in 4th?
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? It was really, really strange. They had a bad time.
Slow Eldar.
Yeah, they had a really bad time in 4th, didn't they?
Yeah, really did. Just paper thin and nothing to fight with. The Dracari were brilliant. The Dark Eldar just absolutely reamed everything they touched. But
that was when Phil Kelly reinvented them, right? Like completely overhauled them from what they were back in 3rd Ed. The background, everything. That's when you got the Homunculi becoming basically Cenobites in space. And it's like, oh, yeah, give me that. All of that forever. And they've been great since, to be honest. There's a few editions where they've slipped, but they've been pretty damn good since. I mean, now obviously in 9th, they're still, even in the days of the Votan, they're still pretty damn reliable.
Oh, yeah. If you look at the Votan versus Dracari matches, it's really even.
I imagine that's pretty bloody, good. Isn't it? Pretty bloody, yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't too long ago where George would talk about just how dominating the Dracari were.
They were, and they still
Yeah,
kind
beginning
of
of the year.
are.
Yeah.
They still kind of are. I mean, funnily enough, Games Workshop have tried to nerf them like multiple times, and the codex is just so well put together, it hasn't worked.
Well, people found ways around. It's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
It is such a good codex. That's the problem. It is such a well-constructed rule set that you can do that. That's what's so brilliant about it. It's the best they've been for a long, long, long time.
Hey, how did you get to 40k? Tell us the tale, oh dead one.
It was probably the same as how I got into just Warhammer Fantasy, which was Mum's boyfriend was into it. I thought it looked pretty cool. We played Space Hulk, which was it was either Space Hulk or the edition with Orcs versus Space Marines. With the cardboard, I think it was Dreadnought, or was it the Killer Can that was a paper cardboard?
Killer Can.
It was Killer Can, yeah.
It wasn't a Killer Can because they were just called Dreadnoughts back then.
They were just called Dreadnoughts back then,
Yeah,
weren't
Orc
they?
Dreadnought,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, yeah. So
Everything like there was the Elder Dreadnought, there was the Chaos Space Marine Dreadnought, there was the Space Marine. Everything was Dreadnought back then.
yeah,
There's no
that would have
Necron
been
Dreadnought.
that would have been the time that I got into it, but I didn't really stick with it just because I preferred fantasy. You know, I was more into my chaos stuff then.
Cool.
But I did get to see the dawn of like the Dark Eldar and the multi-part kits. I remember not enjoying putting together the Dark Eldar because they were very
The spikes, they're pointy.
well, they were so thin as well. They had those really weedy arms. It's like putting together undead, which I wouldn't have known until these days. But yeah, I did enjoy kind of sticking spikes onto the side of their helmets. That was quite fun.
That's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so it was around that time. So again, it was around the era of like Epic and stuff like that. So I got to see Epic, which was
So
quite
that'd
fun.
be 3.0. That'd be.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, the golden years, right?
They actually are.
That was it.
Yeah,
Was I mean,
well,
3.0 was a really weird one because it was such a drastic change, wasn't it? I mean, like that was the biggest change 40k had ever experienced. The whole rule set was completely changed to streamline it and make it more of a war game than a. I mean, Second Ed was still a skirmish game. It was still a skirmish game. It took like hours and hours and hours to put a game together and then to play it. And even then, they were a very small scale, right? Because it was so complex. There were so many different dice and templates and rules and so on and so forth. But it was also very unbalanced and weird. Do you remember, like, they had to, because it was a total change, everyone's codices were just invalidated the minute 3.0 came out. So they had a get you by army list for all of the armies in the back of the book, the Warhammer 40,000 book, but they were a crap. They were really, really bare bones, like very, very boring army lists. So they were spewing out codices like you wouldn't believe.
So small.
They were so tiny, they were pamphlets, weren't they? They were absolutely pamphlets. And the problem with them was because they were pushing them out so quickly, they weren't very good. I mean, do you remember I remember particularly the Chaos Space Marine Codex. That came out more or less directly after the Space Marine Codex, which was the first one. And it was so bad that there was the equivalent of a day one patch for that codex. There was so much in it that was wrong or that you couldn't, that was like contradictory. There were all these pages in White Dwarf that told you, well, just so this unit works, apply this special rule. It was like, oh my God, it's so bad. But when Third Ed hit its stride, it was actually a good game system,
Yeah.
It just took a while to get there.
Yeah, it was a solid enough system. It just needed more time to.
That's it.
People to understand it. That was a major issue. That the designers had spent all this time building it, and then the codex writers just didn't quite know how to get things together. Because if you remember, Second Ed codices, those things they came out at a rate of knots, but each one had about a 2-year cycle. They were working on those things during Rogue Trader. The end years of Rogue Trader. The Space Wolves Codex, for example, there's a wonderful story of how that was meant to actually be part of Rogue Trader. Working on Second Ed, it got pulled back, which is why that Space Wolves one is so good.
Yeah.
Trying to be refined again and again and again.
Also, the very first codex ever, right?
What, the Space Wolves one?
Yep.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Space Wolves was the very first one, and then it was Orcs, I believe. The Orcs was the second one to come out.
Correct. Yeah. That's right.
Eldar was the next one.
Mhm.
That was when I came in. The Eldar Codex was my very first, because I was still like a pointy-headed hippie player back then. I loved my Eldar back then. I absolutely adored them, and that was my way in, that Eldar Codex. And when you're a kid, I think I was 8 years old when I got that. And when you're a kid and those things you obsess over, I read that book from cover to cover multiple times, and it eventually just fell apart. It just fell to bits, that codex. But it was so fascinating. It was so full of the lore and the details of this race. I just loved it to bits. I had a massive Elder army back then, all lead. Obviously, it was all lead.
Weirdly enough, I was away on Monday, Tuesday. Went to a friend's house, stayed there with everyone. The two friends I went to stay with, married couple, I know him from my old days of wargaming at the West Cumbria War Games Club. Down at Trails Hall, for anybody out there who's listening from that time. And I went to school with Laura, the wife. And me and Mike sat up and we just talked about old lead miniatures for about 3 hours.
Wow.
It was absolutely wonderful. I think we went to a 1920s train that was built for Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, wow.
It was the actual one that was built for Murder on the Orient Express as well. It's pretty cool.
That's magnificent. That's absolutely super.
Sniffing the seat for a bit of Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, God. Is that legal?
Give me your acting powers, Kenneth. So, George, where did you get in? To 40k, not to Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten into Kenneth Branagh. I don't really want to be honest. But yeah, it was very much that. I mean, I had a sort of prior introduction through Space Crusade. A friend of mine had Space Crusade, and we sat and painted the miniatures and had a few games of Space Crusade. But 40k itself, it was a couple of issues of White Dwarf that my friend basically plonked in front of me at junior school at one point and said, read those, you'll love it, which I did. And that was pretty much it. I saw some of the new Elder miniatures as they were back then, some of which are still in use now, by the way. And that was it. Just fell in love with them. The aesthetic of them. You know what really did it for me? It was the Phoenix Lords. It was the Phoenix Lords. Yeah. Again, many of which are still in use now. I remember having Fugan, the Burning Lance, back then. And just being in love with it. That miniature, just being absolutely in love with it. I remember when those miniatures came out. Right, this is one of those core memory moments. So thank you, George. But that issue that came out, and I pored over that page for hours. Yeah,
I never wanted to do Eldar. I never wanted to do an Eldar army. I didn't like the Eldar very much. But you could Ra. Oh my God, a Sunuri. How you pronounce it?
Chainsaw.
Karandras. Oh my God, just
they're gorgeous, aren't they? The Phoenix Lords
beautiful.
Are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Oh,
and the background for them too. I mean, I was fascinated by that. The notion that these guys are immortal. They are not the original Phoenix Lords per se. But when the Phoenix Lords die, when they're defeated, another Eldar from the same aspect shrine will find the suit and will put it on. And the engrammatic memories from the spirit stones that festoon the suit will infiltrate them and make them into the new incarnation of the Phoenix Lord. That's so cool. I love that as a concept.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
Is that what is that one Fulgrim did, like a perverted version of himself to get
yes,
evolved?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
That's what Graham McNeil is definitely getting at in Angel Exterminatus. Yes, that's how he kind of forced his own apotheosis into a demon prince. Yeah, very cool, right?
Yeah, not bad.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So he's following in the path of the Eldar in a kind of perverted fashion,
which is perfect for Slaanesh.
Exactly, makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah,
absolutely perfect. I just can't wait for them to get all of the Phoenix Lords updated. I mean, the new miniatures are fantastic. The new Morgan Ra. Jeez, it's so good.
Warp
It's
spiders?
so
What are they?
good.
What's a warp spider?
It'd be
Never heard of
lovely,
them.
wouldn't it?
Never heard of them.
Distant pipe dream, distant pipe dream. You know the weird thing? The way the warp spiders are described in the background, the miniatures have never fulfilled what they're supposed to look like.
No.
They are supposed to look really scary. They've got the actual suits are like multi-limbed, like spiders, and they spend so much time in the warp that they're not quite stable Eldari anymore. You know, they're supposed to be really terrifying figures, even to the other Eldar. And sadly, the miniatures have never quite gotten it across. Some of the artwork in the original Second Ed Elder Codex really does. They are scary-looking things.
The miniatures have always looked like the Elder version of Terminators. It's really, really bizarre.
It's really odd, isn't it? They look a bit too big, a little bit too heavy. They could do with making them a bit more spindly, really, couldn't they? And they make them sort of perched on things, like they're crawling along things, like spiders do, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man,
I've still got a soft spot, though. You know, I still love my Eldari. I still do. I still do. They were my way in. And although I'm very much a Chaos boy these days, I still have a real soft spot, and I always enjoy reading the new codices for them. The new one is by far one of the best there's ever been. It's so good, and you can do so much with it. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I mean, like, you know, well done on that one, Games Workshop. They've done a good job with them.
Well, speaking of you being Chaos Boy, shall we begin looking through some of the new? Because there is something weird and chaosy that I've got.
There's really unexpected, right?
So,
really
unexpected. There's a little video that came out for the Warhammer Day preview celebrating 35 years of Warhammer 40,000. My God, please, 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 don't let that be true. It says that basically what I'm saying is that it's Dark Hereticus. I think it's actually the Zerg.
What makes you think the Zerg?
Because if you look at that silhouette picture, that is Kerrigan, the Zerg Queen.
It's not. It's not. It's Dark Mechanicus, isn't it? I mean, what it actually is, I've no idea. Not the first clue. It's clearly something very specific to the Dark Mechanicum. And apparently it's a special character as well. But what it actually is, I don't know. It looks great. The silhouette and the details we've seen, because we've seen bits of it in the Rumor Engine, right?
Yeah, we saw his claw, like his little clawy hand.
Talon. Yeah, we've seen his talon. He's got weird skeletal wings, and it seems to be like very Dark Mechanicum. It's a fusion of the demonic and the mechanical.
Are there any famous Dark Mechanicum in the Horus Heresy lore?
Yeah. Kelbor Hal. It could be Kelbor Hal, who is the what do they call the manufacturer general from Mars, who sides with Horus and becomes like the founder of the Dark Mechanicum, effectively the very first of the Dark Mechanicum. It could be him.
Do you think they'd have him as a model, or do you think they'd leave him more as a background thing and have this as more like a leader character? Because I mean, granted, we do have Abaddon, so maybe that doesn't work. But there are other characters who we don't have.
It could be. I mean, they may just. I mean, I don't even know if Kelbor Hal survived the Horus Heresy. I don't think there's any background on whether he did or whether he didn't. So I don't know.
The reason I asked is because I wondered if they were going to pick someone who's going to be like the current Mechanicus, antithesis.
Yeah, that's probably the case. My guess is it's a new character. I don't think it's someone we know from the background. That would be my guess. Although if it is Kelbor Hal, that would be very interesting because it means he's very old. He's been around for like well over 10,000 years.
And this Dark Mechanica stuff has been hinted at. I think you and Griff have talked about it for a while now, and I know a lot of people have been gagging for it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, ever since that stuff started to filter into Blackstone Fortress, I mean, people have been like, give it to us, give us the whole army. And of course, they did use Blackstone Fortress a bit like they use Warcry in AOS, right? To test bed miniatures and whatnot. So
is this where you put like Chaos Guardsmen as well, potentially, do you think?
Yep. Yeah, and also like I mean, even the new Chaos Space Marines were first originally released in Blackstone Fortress. So
yeah.
You know, it's going to be very interesting. What I find fascinating about them is how are they going to differentiate them from? I mean, not just aesthetically, obviously, but like how they work on the battlefield. How are they going to be different from the Adeptus Mechanicus forces?
What are the specialties
of more wet?
What are the specialties of the Mechanicus? What if you could pick out like their advantages? What are they, and what are the disadvantages? Because maybe they'll just inverse it.
Maybe that'll be. I mean, it's largely firepower, isn't it? They've got very reliable firepower output. I don't know. Maybe with these guys, it'll be the opposite. Maybe they'll be like the Mechanicum, but melee based or something.
Yeah.
The whole philosophically, the difference between the Mechanicum and the Dark Mechanicus is that the Dark Mechanicus regard chaos as the omnisia. They regard it as the manifestation of the omnisia's philosophy, and they are allowed to experiment. That's the big difference. You know how the Adeptus Mechanicus really aren't. Philosophically, they have to keep everything the same. Everything is static because it's sacred. You can't update the machine because that would be heresy. The Dark Mechanicum don't give a toss about any of that. It's a case of, we'll meld flesh and metal and demons and whatever you like. It doesn't matter to us.
It's a strange idea, because you would have thought they'd go harder into flesh is weak, but it seems like they're going for a weird mix of the two, which is
that's it.
Odd.
That's ideologically the big difference between the Mechanicum and the Adeptus Mechanicus. So the Adeptus Mechanicus, it is the flesh is weak, and by replacing their flesh with mechanical augmentations, they come closer to a state of divinity. That's not true for the Dark Mechanicum. The Dark Mechanicum, ironically, is about a balance between the organic, the demonic, metaphysical, and the mechanical.
Sounds almost like the weird inverse of the good guys take, because the good guys take would be like, oh no, there's a balance between man and machine, like in Beast Machines, and the Mechanicus is like, nope,
exactly.
Robot only, no monkey.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. I mean, it's another good example about how technically there are no good guys in 40k.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a really good example of that. I mean, I suppose the best examples of that balance that we currently have are things like the Obliterators, for example, who manifest it like completely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is even like a little bit of background that says that the Obliterators may in fact derive originally from experiments by the Dark Mechanicum. So,
I do think, however, the sort of blurry picture that you get. If you look at that like fuzzy blurry picture, the head does look a little bit frog-like. So what if it isn't Dark Mechanicum and it is in fact the slab?
Oh dear, I'm not sure. I mean, funnily enough, I did see one theory that suggested that it might be, you know how Fulgrim is not Fulgrim, Lorgar is guided by that weird demon prince in the Horus Heresy.
Oh yes.
What's it called? I can't remember its name. The one that's born on Davin. But it's like Lorgar's spirit guide, basically. I heard some suggestions that it might be that character.
That would be cool.
That would be very interesting, right? It does look a little bit like her. Now that I look at it and I think of the artwork of that character, it does look a little bit like her, actually. So, who knows? Who knows?
I would put money down because the sort of segmented version of the armor. I'm going to say it's actually a Harud, and we're going to get a full Harud army coming out, and they're going to be all like space slug rat people.
Are you just saying this because like squats are now a thing that exists and you can't use them as your default answer? Okay.
It's almost like an incantation, isn't it? It's like if I say it, it'll happen, right?
Well, then why not bring back the monkeys? Bring back the Octungas and give them their guns.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see 2,000 points of Jokero coming over the mountain.
Hell yeah.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine the first rule would be screaming and whooping? Just everyone has to take a morale test because of the sheer amount of noise that these space orangutans are making.
Unless they're noise marines, of course. I mean, noise marines would love that.
Roll a 6, throw feces at the enemy, blind them.
The other rule that
Death Guard would love that.
True.
The other rule that the Jokero would have would be that every time you take a shot, roll a dice. On a 1 to 10, you've taken the weapon apart and made a watch.
Oh, I'm so with Adam on this. Mr. White, you are absolutely correct. They do need to update the Defiler.
Oh yeah, Jesus!
It's an old mini now. I mean, it's like the Defiler was the first demon engine in 40k. It was the very first demon engine in 40k, and it came out with the 3.5 codex many years ago.
It was still sold in metal?
God, jeez.
Because it was, wasn't it, when it originally came out? Yeah. It's probably resin now, if you can even get the resin version.
God. But they do need to update it. It does. I mean, it looked great when it first came out, but they could do with making it a little bit more demonic.
I didn't love the Defilers. I thought they were okay. I preferred the Chaos Dreadnought because I primarily remember the Defilers from the Dawn of War games, and they're interesting enough visually, but I like the big stompy boy more so than a weird spider crab thing with one cannon in its mouth.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Although I must say, I one of my favorite new miniatures more recent miniatures for Chaos is the Hell Brute. I love that miniature so much.
Yeah, I could never get away with the Hell Brute either.
Fleshy boy.
I don't hate it. It's just, again, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's not a Dreadnought. I like the Dreadnought. The Chaos Dreadnought was so good.
They've really tried to move them away from being the Chaos Dreadnought, haven't they?
Which makes sense.
Probably it does make sense, I suppose. I mean, I know what you mean, though. I love those old second ed Chaos Dreadnoughts.
So good. They're so good.
Back in the game, they were awesome. They were awesome, but they were mad. They had a whole 2-page table of insanity that you had to roll on to see what they do. Because sometimes they would fire everything they had at one of your own units. And I mean everything they had. And that was a bad thing back then. That was a very bad thing back then.
Because the Stampede rules.
Where they just run forward at the closest unit and stomp it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I do. They were They were loads of fun, actually. That was their whole shtick. They were a load of fun. They weren't necessarily effective because half the time they'd rampage through your own battle lines and like kill your essential units. But they were a lot of fun to have back then.
What else is really fun and charges around and doing tons and tons of damage? Chaos Juggernauts with big old chainswords for horns.
Whoa! What, right? I mean, these guys look amazing, don't they?
Lord Invictus.
They're all right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you on a little journey with me here and explain why I don't like should we say the current Juggernauts, right?
What, the present ones?
Yeah, the ones that have been out since 2003.
Oh, God. 10 years ago. Nearly.
Oh, God.
Ah. Oh, no. No, 20. You said 2003. 20. Nearly 20 years ago. Even worse.
I was gonna say, nearly 20 years ago. Yes.
I thought that was the joke of I refuse to acknowledge how time works.
No, that's the acknowledgement that I'm stupid. And can't count.
So, if you look at the ones that came before that, they've got this real sense of forward motion, right? We're talking the Rogue Trader ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember them. They are absolutely glorious. They're just wonderfully. The
Rogue Trader ones look more like bulldogs, didn't they? They were very strange things.
They were, yeah. They're just absolutely wonderful. And then when the ones came out towards the beginning of third ed, they just didn't me. They were too stationary. They didn't look like a living thing, so to speak. There we go. Whilst these things don't look like they're moving as much, well, they don't look like they're moving at all. They are very, very silly. Just trying to.
Oh, do you mean the second head one, Adam? The one that's the Chaos champ, the Khorne champion on the Juggernaut that's just standing still on all
Yes.
four legs. Yeah, that second head.
that's-
He was a big, chunky metal boy. He was. You could chuck him at someone and it would really hurt.
Oh God.
I think that's it. Yeah, there you go. So that's now. Let's see.
I mean, that's like the whole thing with Juggernauts as well, isn't it? They're supposed to be like forward momentum made, demonically manifest.
Yes, yeah, and there's something about them going from these weird, wrinkly metal bulldogs to the solid mass of the later ones. This didn't work for me. I don't know what it is. The concept just didn't fit, and I've never liked them. Then this guy is hit, and the sheer amount of movement he's got. Oh my God, he is glorious.
Did you see in the article? They actually say that he's going to have companions too. You're going to get a unit in the World Eaters book of Khorne Berserker riding Juggers, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind.
I wonder if they're going to do anything with these to just make them AOS, because they're in AOS as well, Juggernaut Riders, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're Blood Crushers, aren't they? They're called Blood Crushers.
That's it, Blood Crushers, yeah.
And again, really nasty cavalry unit, like really nasty.
Oh yeah, they're hard hitters, very hard hitters. The only thing it's not a huge criticism, but I would have liked to have seen is maybe a bit broader shoulders on the beasts. They seem almost a little thin, mainly because you go up so high from like I guess where the shoulder point would be, and it just goes up. If you could have just pulled them out a bit wider, just make it look a bit more stocky. But I imagine that's just to keep it in. The base size.
I mean, this guy's a special character too, isn't he? He's a new character for the World Eaters. That's great.
Oh, there's the old one.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute, isn't it?
Yeah, I like. Yeah, you want to pet him and say who's a good boy.
Yeah, there he is. He's sweet.
I do like the thing in Lord Invictus, which he leads thunderous charges of blood crushers and berserkers and frontal attacks that light the sky aflame. And some claim he even rides the flames themselves. You rider,
awesome.
rider.
That's fun.
So, I'm hoping that we're going to get some more. I really hope that Rider makes a real appearance.
I mean, it looks like they're throwing a lot at this World Eaters Codex, doesn't it? It looks like it's going to be just. I mean, we've seen suggestions of the Terminators that are coming. They've shown little bits of them here and there. It looks like it's going to be an amazing release. I mean, I don't even collect World Eaters, but obviously, I'm going to be all over this Codex.
How do you paint your World Eaters, George? Would you paint them white and blue, and then just like get blood for the Blood God and just pour it over them?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I had a few Khorne Berserkers back in second ed, but that's the only time I've ever had them. I think I'd go for like a black. I've always liked them in black. I've always felt they look good in black, like the Black Legion Khorne Berserkers look great.
Okay.
I've always liked that, so maybe I'd go for a black and bone color scheme for them. Something like that, maybe. There is a subcult of the World Eaters where they're just all bone. Their armor is completely bone, and that looks lovely too, like gore spattered bone.
Oh, I was gonna say, are they like antithetical to blood and just going for the skulls?
I think that's probably it. Yeah, that's because again, I mean, Khornate worship. There's so many. It might seem very straightforward, but there are lots of subdivisions of it, and little you have some war bands that go for the head chopping exclusively. You get some that are all about the blood, drinking the blood. You get like cannibal cults dedicated to Khorne, and
no blood for the Blood God. Skulls, though. Yes, lots of skulls.
Lots of skulls for the Skull Throne.
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
I've just finished Echoes of Eternity, which, by the way, is a fucking incredible book.
Yeah, ADB is a genius, isn't he? He's one of those writers. Whatever he touches, he just elevates the material, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a couple of bits in there which I think we'll probably talk about down the line. Yeah, maybe not at the moment, but there's a couple of bits in there that really got to me. The main thing that got to me after that is the Apothecary.
Kargos.
Yeah, the World Eater Apothecary.
Kargos Blood Splitter, yeah.
Holy shit, I did not expect to come out of the Horus Heresy books wanting to do a World Eater's army. But I do. I really, really do. And the idea of having the white armor, just with all of that red on the front, just that splattered red. That sounds good to me.
He writes the World Eaters beautifully. I mean, there's a tendency for them to be very simplistic and very narrow in the fiction. Because they kind of are, that's part of their appeal in many respects. They're very straightforward, right? But ADB has taken them and he's gone very deep into the psychology of them, especially with the butcher's nails ticking away in their heads.
How many times do those nails bite? It's just awful.
And the way he communicates that is beautiful. You can actually feel the agony that those fucking evil devices cause, right?
I think it's good that they're actually portrayed to be simplistic, because then it hits harder when you have their more personal stories, doesn't it? It makes them a lot more interesting, because you go, oh wow, they're not just this, but to everybody else. I mean, to the outwards appearance, they are nothing but that, but there's more to them.
Exactly that. That's what ADB has really gotten to the crux of with them. He goes very deep into their psychology, and the way the butcher's nails chemically and physically alter their psychology. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And of course, then he elevates it, because he takes a celestial or infernal look at it with Angron, who is now a demon Primarch, and is learning his new nature. Doesn't understand what he is or like how he sustains. And it's absolutely incredible stuff.
Angron and his entire sequence where he has to try to relearn to talk because he's not built for speech anymore.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Awesome. I mean, one of my favorite sequences is where he's flying above the siege of the inner palace, and he's constantly diving down in like a ball of black fire, but he can't get in because the Emperor's influence is still keeping the demons out at this point. It's faltering, but it's just holding. And the rage and the fury that he can't get down there, and he can't begin the slaughter. It's unbelievably well communicated.
That book it's something else. Considering it is a series of vignettes from all over Earth, it ties together. That makes something absolutely astonishing.
I think one of my favorite points in it, my favorite vignettes, is early on when you get a look from inside the Titan that's advancing on the wall, and the walls of the outer palace have collapsed. So the Titans now, there's no cohesion anymore. The Titans aren't together in squadrons or units. They don't know what they're doing. The people inside, they've been fighting inside the Titans for weeks or months. So they are filthy. They're disgusting. They're sustaining literally on their own recycled waste, which is sloshing out all over the place. They've got demons whispering in their minds and in their ears, and they just don't know what's happening. Half of them don't even know why they're fighting anymore, And this Titan starts to fall. It loses its footing, and it just, in a moment of decision, it fires its harpoon through the abdomen of the Titan in front, which is not an enemy, it's a friend.
Oops.
And hauls itself up via it's so cool. It's so cool.
The bit that really got me was the payoff to, you do know, don't you? You're not her.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nasty. That's really nasty. I mean, nothing I think will ever come close to Arkenland's Concrete, which is my favorite thing ever in the entirety of Horus Heresy.
Yeah, he's good.
Arkenland and his Concrete is amazing.
Arkan is awesome. He's one of the best characters in the Heresy by a country mile.
The monkey. which is that makes me happy.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
has-
it's cool.
Yeah, he has a monkey, but because nobody knows how a monkey works, because they're long gone, or what they make, it just runs around making these weird binary squeaks.
Yeah. Which Arkan understands. So it's like he's a human, but he understands. It's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Can I also hold up a hand for his portrayal of Sanguinius?
Sanguinius versus the Bane.
His portrayal
Jesus.
of, I mean, like,
Wow.
ADB, whenever he does a Primarch, he just gets it, doesn't he? He just gets to the essence, the core of them, and he creates the very best representations of those Primarchs. You know, Rogel Dawn is brilliant in this book. Sanguinius is wonderful, wonderful. If he's not your favorite loyalist Primarch by the end, he'll be edging that way, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have to make
He's just
Sanguinius like the
wonderful.
best, though, don't they?
Yeah.
They have
Yes.
to make you
Yes.
love him.
Exactly that. But he is a great character. I mean, he's a wonderful, wonderful character in this book. And it is actually, it's built it up. It is going to be very sad when it hits. Vulcan, though, like Vulcan's in this book too. He's fantastic. Magnus is brilliant in this book,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know when Vulcan swings his hammer at him and Magnus just catches it,
Mhm.
and it's
Oh,
like, sorry, not here. I'm God here, basically.
And just the frustration of Magnus of, oh, for fuck's sakes, please, just
Yeah,
stop hitting me.
yeah.
And my theory is that Vulcan is the beginning of the Legion of the Damned. My theory, and I'm sticking.
Given their imagery, you know, the flame imagery and whatnot, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
It makes perfect sense. They all come out the webway. That's where they come from. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my theory.
And given
That's
like
my
the
theory.
time warping dilation stuff, because you know there's a point in the book, I mean spoilers by the way guys, but where Vulcan actually encounters honest to God Rubricae, and the rubric hasn't happened yet,
Huh.
right? Because the time dilation is so weird, right? He actually encounters Rubricae. It's like, whoa, okay, that's very strange.
Just remember,
Really
guys,
fine.
while you're reading this fantastic book series, at some point there's Trazen going around stealing people.
Yeah, always and forever.
Just putting
Yeah.
them in a museum, like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. I'll just pinch these guys.
Yeah,
What I really would love to do is a Trazen model for the giant butterfly net, just chasing one of the Primarchs.
that would be good fun. Yeah,
There's two dioramas I want to do, and it's that Trazen with the butterfly net, and it's another one where it's just a road with a manhole cover open, and just Ark and Land pouring a bucket into the hole.
of course, because at this point, they all like Abaddon is buried in that concrete, right?
Mhm.
So they all think Abaddon's dead. So there's going to have to be a moment where he reemerges, yeah?
Yeah, where he gets out.
Because I mean, I don't know, they have changed a lot, so they may change this, but in the established fluff, he is on board the Vengeful Spirit when the Emperor boards, right?
Yes.
So
Maybe he
yeah,
gets out the hole and he's cleaning his armor because he's all covered in gunk.
maybe that's it. Yeah, it's got like bits of concrete in the joints and whatnot.
Yeah, wash his
He's-
top knot.
Just walking down the street like Mr. Blobby. Fucking Ark and Land.
Tell no one of this. Little Horace, you'll take this to your grave, I swear to God, if you tell anyone.
I mean, there have been some
Speaking
big
of,
changes. So, like what happens to Yagati Khan? That's very different from the established fluff. I mean, I'm not going to spoil
I
it, but it's
love Khan.
very different.
I love Khan so
Me
much.
too. He was a
love-
great
he's
character,
so
right?
good, yeah.
Great
He's so
character
good.
in Warhawk.
And that
And
the
how-
sequence with the fucking platform made me it brought the hairs right up on my arms. Just
Utterly brilliant.
Yeah,
Utterly
he had a
brilliant.
nice little bit in Solar War when he's just like, hey, do you set that bird free of yours? And she's like, yeah, I set my bird free. And it comes back, it's like, oh, that's nice. Dawn's in a cage that he's made for himself and it gets smaller. It's like, oh, it's nice. Especially because I don't know too much about the Khan either. It's nice to hear him do
No.
things and talk.
He's one of the more obscure Primarchs, that's for sure.
Yeah. Even in terms of the fiction, it doesn't feel like there's been a lot written about him. That's probably deliberate again, so you underestimate him, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And
I
he
mean,
just ends up being so good.
yeah, he's a
Just
fabulous
absolutely
character,
incredible.
and of course, he's one of the great heroes of the heresy, right? I mean, were it not for his actions, then the traitors would have overrun Terra just like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, he's so cool.
I mean, Warhawk is a brilliant book. That's actually a really fantastic piece of work. One of my favorite bits in that book, again, kind of minor spoilers, is that bit when the Death Guard, towards the end, when they get to see themselves, what they've become. And there's like across the Legion, there is this mass realization of what's happened to them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic moment.
And you know that a fair few of them just want to go and have a couple of words with Matarian.
Wait, are we the bad guys here? Yes, we are. Look at us.
They do have that moment. They do have a sort of, oh dear.
Was Garrow right? Yes. You idiots. Garrow was right. God damn it, you morons.
It's weird how much you come out of those books just feeling sorry for Matarian. Just
No, I remember what he did to Magnus. I don't feel that bad for him.
Actually, that is a real point.
Because he's a real racist towards Magnus, and like any psyche, he's like very much fuck him. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, well.
And then he becomes one himself. He starts meddling with occultism and whatnot himself, the hypocritical twat.
I was going to say, well, is he Space Wolf now? What's going on? Has he changed allegiance?
Exactly that.
There are no mages on Fenris.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
You know what else there isn't on Fenris? There's many things that aren't on Fenris, and one of the things that isn't on Fenris is the Shadow Vaults. But we enter the Gallow Dark. It's Kill Team, and we are looking at the whole new part to what the hell is this thing, the Gallow Dark? It appears to be that eventually, over multiple games, you're going to be getting a fucking spaceship.
It looks good, doesn't it? I love the actual board and everything. It looks really good fun.
But am I wrong here in saying this? It appears that like we're going to get like a load of different Kill Team boxes here, and we're just going to end up with a board that's a full spaceship.
It does look like it's heading that way, doesn't it?
I think this is what Kill Team should maybe always have been, like almost Space Hulk, because I remember when you did the Galapox guys, Gruff, and the tight confined space to me seems to give a bit more of an interesting gameplay feel than like a big granted, like an open area, you've got multiple levels to it. I think a confined spaceship to me is more interesting, and it helps separate it as well from just 40k.
Yes,
and Necromunda actually. Yeah,
it's got more atmosphere, doesn't it? It's got that, like you said, that space hulky feeling where it feels slightly frightening, especially if you're in like a confined room. I like that. I like that very much.
How could you ever be frightened? You've got a pet tank, a Wally robot thing. It just runs around and shooting from its really cute looking eyes. that sentry turret is like the cutest thing that's ever been.
It is quite cool, isn't it? That, you know what it looks like to me? It looks a little bit like the Transformers Micromaster vehicles. It's got that feeling about it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think it looks like an Action Master version of Johnny Five.
If you make it a bit more planty, it could be one of Sawboss's friends from Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
I mean, the one with a chainsaw on could easily be Sawboss.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
I suppose it could. You could really convert that into Sawboss, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Quite easily.
So you all heard it here first. I'm doing a Jason the Wheeled Warriors Imperial Guard army.
They're not Necrons.
Although I mean, there are some lovely Necrons in this set. I love that Cryptek. He's very simple, but I really like him.
The one on the Scarab, the new one.
The other one.
Okay.
The other one. He's very cool. I like him.
Yeah, he's got a fancy name because he's not just a Cryptek, is he? He's got some kind of fancy title.
Is he a character?
Right, I don't think he's a character. I think he's not a plasmancer or a cryomancer. He's like one of the new ones.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Because there is just a standard cryptech in there who's just
Yes.
the model from ages ago.
Upgraded Immortal Despotech.
Okay,
So, hey,
fair
I've
enough.
never come across the word Apprentech before, and I hate it. I
Apprentice.
hate the word Apprentech. I'm just going to put it out there. That's the nails across the chalkboard of my soul. That one. Sorry.
When are they going to make plushies of the little huggable Necron creatures? You know, the little spider things.
Well,
They really shouldn't they?
Twigs, they did nerdlings. They should really do one of these little things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I never got the Griffhound. You just made me realise I never got the plushie Griffhound. I've got the Squig and I've got the Nurgling. I never got the Griffhound.
Did you not return the Squig since he was a danger to children?
Don't be foolish. On one hand, I trust my son to not eat a Squig, and on the other hand, yeah, he lives with me. The Squig is mine.
Is this a new Deathmark miniature as
Yes.
well that's amongst the Necrons? I thought so.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
The Necrons in this are really sweet. They're just so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, everything's new apart from the standard cryptech, which is just... It's still a good model. You don't need to change it. But it's also a little bit annoying because the death marks are, like, really nice and they look nice and fancy compared to the, you know, the older ones, which are okay, but they're a bit fiddly to do.
Yes.
Big Swinging D says there's alternative heads for the existing kits.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
So,
Very
that's
nice.
cool.
And you also got
and I
the
do have to-
Astrometaria against them, of course.
Yep, I was just about to hit them because I'm really happy with the way these guys have come out. They look really cool.
They do look good. They look really good. I mean, they are the Decayedian, aren't they?
Yeah, is it Crossrick? The
I don't know.
Cascrin. Yeah, they are the elite guard of Cadia. Or
Cool.
what was Cadia?
What was Cadia? It's not
Yeah,
anymore.
they're the elite guard of the Bomby Bits. But yeah, they're really sweet. They've got a real aliens vibe to them, which I quite like.
Very aliens inspired, definitely.
It does feel like they've gone back to that well and just drawn from it a bit more.
They're very dynamic as
which
well.
I-
Like each miniature has got like a little hint of character about them. Like they're doing something, or they've got some personal effect about them.
Yeah.
I really like that.
They're
I
going
really
down
like
the kill team aesthetic when they're making a team, thankfully, which is make everything an individual, make them all
Make them a
unique and
character,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, and of course
Guy
you've
who's,
got to work harder at that with the humor, like the Astra Militaria, because of course for one thing they're all uniform,
Yeah.
which is can be problematic in that regard, and they're human, right?
Well,
They
I mean,
have to-
you're
have
not
to do
wrong,
something
but they did a
more
really good job
interesting.
with the Death Marks of Creed or whatever there was. The one previously when they came with the Arcs, they did a
Deathcore,
great job with them. So it's probably just like,
They did.
just do it again.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they seem to have found their stride when it comes to the Astra Militaria recently, which is good because they're imminent, aren't they?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about them later, but it's nice to see like them not look shit anymore. When I say shit,
Yes,
I don't
they do.
mean shit. I mean they don't look like a 20-year-old army visually anymore.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. They look like they belong
Yes.
again, which is nice to see, isn't it?
It really is. And the guy holding the little scanner, he's just got such an expression of, well, fuck my life. This is how I end. I just really like him.
My sandwich isn't going to be delivered today, and I'm going to die.
Oh, that's what he's doing. He's actually checking his Amazon delivery. Moving on, though, we've sought spaceships, so we're going to be on to boarding actions.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
so
a
this is
little
like
weird thing.
this is the new sort of rule set for 40k, right?
Kind of, yeah. So it's basically it's opening up a narrative idea of being able to play 40k on spaceships with boarding actions and various things like that. So
Makes sense. Well, my
whilst-
pen.
yeah,
Goddamn. I've got it back now. Don't worry. It didn't escape. I've still got it.
there's something very important to go into this. So we've got two stories here. One is what is the Arc of Omens, and one is how the boarding actions work. So I'm going to combine these two things together. basically what you have here is a larger version of what Kill Team's been doing. So Kill Team is the skirmish attack. This is the full-blown army.
Yeah.
Taking massive battles on very twisty corridors. I'm all in for this. This is
Totally.
this
I mean,
this is my bread and butter.
fiction, this makes sense because so much of the fiction is this, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way of
Absolutely.
distinguishing and introducing like a nice new narrative element to 40k.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm all in this. Because if you do it with this, then you can really start playing around with the idea. Use this rule set to make hefty jungles. Use this rule set to do wars through titans. You know, you can do all sorts of really interesting things with it, and I'm all up for it. It's and it changes the dynamic of having your army on one side of the board, their army on the other side of the board, and smash until they fight. There's nothing wrong with that. I love doing it. You know, it's the very tenet of what wargaming is. But anything that adds that extra slice to it, anything that adds that extra, just that little bit of num to it, I'm all in for. And
it's just a clever way of refreshing 40k as well, isn't it? You know, as the edition grinds on, just making it, introducing that nice little element that makes it something new, a bit different. But they've also used it, it seems, as a basis for launching like the next narrative part of 40k.
Which is probably the best way to do things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll make it'll hopefully change the meta of the game, or quote unquote meta of the game. Well, it has to, because anything that's long range, like how are Tau gonna survive this? Like, because they're like long range, they're gonna get eaten.
Like the armies that are considered to be killer armies at the moment are gonna find this difficult, right? So Tau, very difficult. Votan.
Yeah.
How are Votan gonna function in this?
Especially
it's gonna
like
be very interesting.
Tyranids are going to do well, I imagine, because Space Hulk, you know, they're all melee focused.
Chaos Space Marines are gonna kill.
Yeah, especially with the World Eaters coming in. It's like, oh, so this is made for the World Eaters then. Okay, fair enough.
Pretty much.
And it'll force players to either buy or dust off, like, for a Necron player, it'll force us to dust off, like, oh god, what they call the zombie guys with the flesh on them.
Oh, the flayed ones.
The flayed ones. Thank you, God, my brain died. Yeah, the flayed ones. It'll force you to pick up those guys and use them, because death marks, I can't imagine they're going to be as good here as like flayed ones.
Blight Lord Terminators for the Death Guard are going to be amazing in this system.
But the Death Guard should just be good, right? Because if you can make them slowly walk around corners and just keep behind cover, then getting close, you die. Can't kill them fast enough.
Absolutely. And given, you know, all of the buffs and debuffs that they have, like in terms of their auras and whatnot, they're going to be incredible in this. Absolutely incredible.
One interesting idea. I like it again.
Yeah, me too. I'm all in. I'm all in on this one.
I wonder if they'll
get excited about things.
I wonder what the rules will be for vehicles. Like, will they just go no, or will they be like, oh, I wondered if they'd let you have hangar fights. So, like, in a hangar, you could set up, like, a vehicle or two, but that would be about it. And then if you could lead, like, infantry and you could blast them and be like, oh, maybe you could, like, open a cargo bay door and thrust it out into space. Alien Queen style.
What it says is anything that's too big can't get in, so dreadnoughts are out.
Oh, that's a shame. I would like to see like one dreadnought, you know?
Does it give, like, a base size to rule out stuff, or does it say, as long as it's not a quote-unquote vehicle?
Yeah.
it just says vehicles, no.
Okay.
But I'm going to guess that bikes are going to be allowed.
I would think so.
Because you probably can't get, like, a demon prince in here, right? He's going to be a real squash, or a great and clean one. They're not vehicles. He's stuck in a corridor.
If you go to the second story, Andy, the active open, and just roll down to the first... it's the third picture, I think. What we've got here is a load of Chaos Marines, and in the background, my guess is that is the first look that we've got of something from the Dark Mechanicum.
I imagine it could be, it looks it.
Do you see it?
Yep.
It's a three-headed, Zeechian, spider-legged, tentacle monster.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
It's a chicken spider.
Yeah.
Chicken spider Cerberus.
That's exactly what it is.
But here's the other thing I actually found really interesting. It's a little quote here. Following player feedback from across the community, this series won't include extra rules for standard games of Warhammer 40,000. You've told us that you don't want to juggle army rules spread over multiple books. Instead, here's something better. The first volume of Arcs of Omen present a self-contained expansion, a whole new game mode called Boarding Action. These rules will allow your armies to fight intense boarding action battles through claustrophobic corridors and voidcraft, space hulk bunkers, and more, using standalone sets of the new terrain first found in Kill Team Into the Dark. So, what that says to me is that they've learned not to just keep throwing army rules into new books.
Yeah.
And the expansion will be the rules for playing this version of 40k.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do anything to fart around for anything for your army itself.
That's
Brilliant.
good.
That's great. Yeah, no,
Perfect.
that's really good. It means you're not you're not carrying around libraries with you
Exactly. And
all
that's
the time.
perfect. Yeah, spot on.
Cross-referencing this and that, and you know.
Yeah, that's.
Good
I've always
stuff.
said these things need to be. There need to be versions of armies in these books, not stuff that you need for your army.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like the Fabius Bile army in one of the. Oh, what the hell was it called? It wasn't Vigilus.
It was Psychic Awakening.
Yeah, in the Psychic Awakening. Perfect. That's the type of stuff that should be in those books. But actually having things that you need for your army at the base level shouldn't. And this is the way that it needs to be done. And I'm really happy to read that sentence.
No, it's good. The Creations of Bile, which they've now rolled into the main Chaos Space Marine book, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
That one there. Lovely.
And of course, you can win your own copy of the first Arcs of Open book by having my Warhammer account and signing up.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting. There's that hammer in the artwork. That hammer has been on the Rumor Engine as a miniature.
which piece of art on the?
There's a piece of art with a big flaming hammer. We don't know what it's from yet. We haven't seen the miniature.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what it's going to be.
I don't know. That's interesting. That's very, very cool.
Vulcan?
It's chaos. It's definitely chaos.
Okay.
Vulcan?
Like
Insane Vulcan after going through another maze labyrinth time again.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So, do you know what else makes me super happy? Apart from having to only have one book to play your army.
Meth.
That's having one meth. Yeah, crystal meth makes me super, super happy.
Yay.
As it does most people until you run out. You only need one book to play another army, and that other army is the Astra Militarum.
Yay!
Which, if you are a actual person, the Imperial Guard.
Yeah. I don't know anyone that calls them the Astra Militarum.
Apart from me.
Nobody calls
Don't
it.
do that.
It's the wrong way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's what you have to do it.
Don't follow the company line. Follow the true Imperial way. It's the Guard.
follow the Imperial truth, boy.
Yep.
So yeah, the Imperial Guard have been officially announced, and holy mother of fuck nuggets,
They look great.
yeah,
They look great. I mean,
Yeah.
they're never going to be my army because I like the big, grimly Lovecraftian stuff. But, I am very pleased for Imperial Guard players. I really am.
yeah, it's taken a while. I love what they've managed to do here. The smattering of designs taken from various different places. I mean, the World War II style elements on some of them, and the they just look great. I mean, it feels weird to me having them in actual true scale with actual human sized heads rather than the massive heads that the humans in the future appear to have for quite some time. Which made me, of course, realize how weird it is that humans still look just like humans, considering the time frame. It's one of those thoughts I've never had before, but occurred to me when I realized that these people have normal sized heads. Those things. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but as much as a guard army isn't something I would want to do unless it was entirely made of nothing but tanks, these guys really are just superb. There's a guy here, and it looks like he's just got plumbing on his back, and that makes me so happy because I don't know why it's there.
No, they look great.
Yeah, I'm really happy. So that's it. Andy, do you like the Imperial Guard? Hello, Andy.
Oh no!
Oh dear,
We haven't lost Andy, have we?
he might have run away.
Oh no! But no, I mean it's so good to see because they've been in the doldrums for such a long time, haven't they?
Oh God, yeah.
They are one of those armies that just hasn't been given any attention at all for so many editions, barring like the odd token little thing here and there. So to see what appears to be an overhaul of more or less the entire range, barring one or two instances, it's very cool to see. It's lovely to see, and like you said, proper human miniatures that look that actually interact with the other miniatures ranges correctly, right?
Yeah, they're just really, really good. They're just solid on every level. I'm surprised at how much I like it, to be honest with you.
I can think of one downside.
The Commissar doesn't look very good. The Commissar... I'll rephrase that. The Commissar doesn't look very dynamic.
Well, okay, well, it wasn't that. My issue with the Commissar, this is a different issue. My issue with the Commissar is he isn't 90% chin like the original one.
You want the Judge Dredd chin.
And I can also see his eyes. I don't like that. I want that cap to be covering his eyes so you only see nose and chin.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say was we needed one orc in Astro Militarum armor. That's it, just
brilliant.
one. Badly fitted. Like, really too small for him.
What they should do is just on one miniature in every set, there should just be a tiny little Hydra symbol on every single one in every set.
What's that symbol on your chest? Don't worry about it.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about
it's nothing.
it. I'm Alfarius. What was that? Nothing.
Oh, nothing.
I'm just saying I'm Alfarius. What? Nothing.
Yeah. What?
I don't show off about it.
I like the fact...
What are you talking about? I didn't say
the guy
it.
with the plumbing.
Actually, what is that plumbing on his back? It's great.
I assume it's some kind of like radio signal thing.
I think it's a communicator of some description, isn't it? But
it is, but it does look like he's just got a toilet on his back, and that thing he's carrying out his chest is where it comes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like it was a clothesline hanger, and they should add some like plastic socks on there.
God, if I did play these guys, that is exactly what I'd do with it.
Well, here's something I can give you an idea for, George. You should buy these and then pervert them so you can have your Slaneshi guard.
Yeah, it's a good idea, actually. It's not a bad idea at all.
Mix them with the AOS ones as well, and you can probably get a nice mix of things.
The Hedonites, yeah, that's probably a good idea, actually. That would work.
The guy with the power fist and the cigar's already halfway there. Oh boy, I'll tell you where this power fist is going to go. Oh, yeah, it's going to go.
Well, the very notion of a power fist, really. It's very Slaneshi, isn't it?
And very much so, yeah. Power fist is the name of what I'm wearing. It's also the name of what I'm about to do.
90% of Slaneshi apothecarians are pulling stuff out of anuses.
It's like the actual NHS then.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. These things have to be based in reality, Gruff.
Yeah. I think so.
I was hoovering naked and I felt like
But
actual thing I have heard.
I'm just dead pleased. I'm dead pleased for the Imperial Guard players out there. They've got something. They've got something at long last.
And they did what we said they should do. Fix the infantry. The vehicles are fine. They're fine.
Yeah,
they could do with an upgrade, but whatever.
It does look as though they're really leaning hard on the infantry, right?
Yeah, it's the thing that needed to be changed. Super bad.
This is the Imperial Guard. It's the Astra Militario. It's about the humans, right? It's about them. They're the narrative core of the army. So yeah.
Do you think we will get? I think we'll get some vehicles just when the official release comes out.
Definitely.
I don't know how many though.
Maybe
2 or 3.
Maybe they'll do like a new Lehman Russ or something.
I could see them doing for the big one a Baneblade, like their big expensive kit, one Baneblade, or an equivalent. Something like that. But
super heavy, yeah.
Yeah, but a Lehman Russ for like the 60 quid miniature. I could easily see that. That makes sense because it's the tank.
It's
really.
the Imperial Guard
Yeah.
tank, isn't it? So it does make sense. But no,
I'm
very
very
pleased.
surprised to see new Sentinels.
Yeah,
A little bit. They've gone for the oh no, we've been shot in the head and we're dead kind of mentality of don't worry about screens for protection.
yeah.
It's not as bad as the Space Marine baby carrier though, but it's kind of edging that way.
The Eldari have really got it down when it comes to the
Oh,
walker
God.
technology, haven't they? You know,
They didn't bring those back though, to be fair, did they? Not since second ed, third ed.
Third, yeah.
Bless them.
at the very least, they had the little background detail that said that they have a force field. You know,
That's true.
I could kind of deal with that. You know,
To be fair,
these guys haven't even got that.
The Necrons kind of did that as well, didn't they, with the Destroyers, with the original release when it was just like the little land speeder thing, and they were just on chairs out there. But they're
Yeah,
robots, so who cares?
They're on big flying chairs.
Yeah,
weren't they?
they're robots. No one cares about them. They got no souls.
Right. It's so funny.
But no, for these the walkers, they looked like Sentinels, just a little nicer, really.
They're just a bit more detailed and a bit more interesting.
Oddly enough, the one with the closed canopy reminds me of a two-legged version of the Mechanicus four-legged spider thing.
I was, funnily enough, Andy, I was looking at these. I was just thinking that you can see like an aesthetic that's carried over from the Adeptus, which makes sense, right?
100%.
Which makes absolutely perfect sense.
It'll be some like lore-wise, like they adapted the STL or something like that. Yeah, it's just fine. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I totally. I mean, that's something I really like to see actually amongst the Imperial armies. That cross-pollination. I think it's kind of fun.
And not just as in, oh, it's got a plasma gun. It's like, oh, yeah, the actual aesthetics kind of going towards that stuff. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The only thing we just need to never see, no hover stuff for the Imperial Guard. No hover stuff.
I don't want to see that.
No one wanted that for the Space Marines, but I mean, we got it, and we got to stick with it now at this point. But no weird 4x4 dune buggies either.
No,
no one wanted to see that, but we've got that now too.
Can I ask you both a question?
Yes.
Right? It's a serious question. You're on the battlefields of the 41st millennium. You're, armored in a certain way to fight for your emperor. Hashtag not my emperor.
Not my emperor. Thank you very much.
Not mine.
And you go onto a planet that could be on fire. It could be toxic. It could be numerous things. The air could be entirely made of wet farts.
Oh, so we just die instantly because the Imperial Guard are not prepared for any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, you might get a gas mask.
Wow.
But unfortunately, the thing that you're riding on is a horse, so you don't have horse gas masks. On one hand, I am real happy to see the Rough Riders of Attila return.
The Rough Riders of
Are
Attila.
amazing.
Wow.
But my God, have I ever been this concerned about the sake of a horse in space? Because
You know what?
really am.
There are so many ways around this bullshit. They're genetically engineered or something.
Let's be honest. I think the horses are tread better in the 40k millennium than people are. I reckon the horses are probably less expendable than humans in this world.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
That is almost certainly true. But
Do you find it weird that horses still exist?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no. I'd say no because I could see them at the very least, at minimal, they'll be like a rich person's thing, like a governor or something. I'm not sure about practical military uses. But I'm not sure about that, but I could see them being on like the fancy worlds where like rich people go for holidays and stuff like that. What they call the garden worlds? Is that what they call garden worlds?
They're called garden worlds.
Yeah, I could see them being there. It's like, oh, look at the horses. That's nice.
Yeah, pretty horses. Yeah. But no, I'm so glad these guys are back.
They look fun. I like them.
They do. They look silly. They look fun. Brilliant stuff. More of this, please.
I want someone to cut the rider and the half the horse and just give the horse arms. So it's got 2 legs and 2 big arms, but no horse bum. We have a new species. Replacement for the ogrins.
Yeah.
Horsegrins.
It's like an equine minotaur in a weird kind of way,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but,
exactly.
but reversed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very peculiar.
I did see someone who did a digibash of the horse riding the man, which was great. And I was like, I don't even know how they did that. I was like, what the fuck?
I want to see someone model a unit of them where there are no horses and they're just holding two halves of coconut.
Yeah.
But they're still floating at the same height.
Yes.
Brave Sir Robin.
Oh,
Well,
my.
you know.
Oh, do you know what would be amazing, right? It's the riders, but they rode like a motorized stick with a horse's head on the end, and they're just flying. Oh my god! But yeah, the Rough Riders are back, and they're absolutely brilliant. It's gorgeous miniatures. Those horses are beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
They're really
yeah.
cool. They're really
Right.
cool. And they're just a
Since I
lovely
never
throw.
thought I'd say. Since I never thought I'd say those horses are beautiful. I hate horses. They terrify me. Fucking mad animals.
They're kind of unpredictable creatures, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, they're
Kind of
mad
dumb
eyes.
too. Bless them.
Mhm. But wow, they do look great, don't they? These are very detailed miniatures.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
As a
top of them is
unit,
just-
they're just impressive, aren't they? They're just very, very impressive.
yeah, they're,
I like
they're
the
absolutely gorgeous.
I like the historical influences on them as well. I mean, they're obviously they've got a little bit of Cossack going on in there, a little bit of like the Khans going on in there,
Mhm.
Mm.
which is really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, they're super, and I'm really happy to see them.
Yeah,
Return.
lovely to see them back.
Is their
Yeah,
lance
which makes me
just a
really-
grenade?
Yeah.
pretty much.
So
Pretty
they
much,
charge and do they die when it explodes?
No, because the grenade sticks into their enemy, they ride off, then the grenade
Yeah.
goes off.
Oh, okay. I thought it like exploded on impact. So like
Yeah,
they stuck
they
someone and
just-
then it would explode.
They're a suicide squad. Yeah,
I,
they just.
I didn't really know what the practicality was. I was just like, this seems like a
I
weird
love
unit.
that. What a great idea. You know, again, that would be very Imperial Guard, wouldn't it? That
Well-
would actually make sense within the fluff.
One of them clearly has like a cattle prod. So I
Yes.
thought he was the one to like the ones that didn't want to commit suicide. He'd poke them into like getting moving. Go on.
And apparently they've got like weapon options, haven't they? They can take either the frag tip or the is it a melter tip?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can either have like the fragmentation grenade or it's like a melter gun on the end of their lance. It's kind of cool, really.
And if you look at it, it's +2 strength, -4 AP with a 3 damage.
That's pretty good. So they're
sounds
kind of
alright.
like tank and heavy armor hunters, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
They
There's a plasma
probably
cup as well, right? Okay.
they probably have to be pretty good like damage because I imagine these guys probably could get cut down quickly, right?
Yeah. Oh, they're going to be fragile as all hell.
Yeah.
Because that's just there's no heavy armor in the Astra Militario outside of the vehicles, you know.
And they're just
So
a
they're
horse.
fucking horses.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah, they're
horse.
just-
Yeah. It is just a horse. That's
on
absolutely
one hand, you've got a sentient fungus that decided to stand up and reproduce asexually and eats everything that it sees and just constantly shouts and screams and has created space travel via rocks and will pick up a gun and it doesn't matter if the gun has ammunition in it as long as that sentient fucking fungus thinks it's going to fire, it'll fire. And on the other side, you've got a man on a horse.
the man on a horse. Yeah.
Dead.
You know where Fabius Bile has gone bad? What he should have done is he should have got horses and created like super horses to be an anti-orc weapon. Horses love carrots. Why can't they be genetically modified to eat orcs?
To eat orcs.
Yeah.
So what you really want against the orcs, you know, if you want like an ultimate vegetarian creature, you want like big bunny rabbits, right?
Bunny riders of Attila.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
They
yeah.
could go stomping
that's
as well.
gonna
If they're big enough, they could hop and land on orcs and squish them. What's that
If I
movie,
ever
Night of the Jackalopes, where they're giant rabbits?
be- Yes.
Just that. There you go.
Back to the lupus.
That's it.
Oh my god.
Fuck me sideways.
That's
I did not
the thing,
expect
right?
that.
Sorry, orcs.
Jesus Christ. See, what I was going to say was, if I ever do an Imperial Guard army, I'm going to completely theme them around. So,
Dear
So in the West, where there are possibly rabbits. Shall we talk about some barbarians that aren't chaos related?
Sure.
My goodness, yeah. I mean, what a turn up, right?
Mm.
This is
I'm all in.
basically new, yeah. Whenever there have been
Yeah.
like a barbarian archetype in the fantasy battle system, they've always been chaos worshippers, right? Always.
Yes. Yeah. But these guys are basically animalistic spirit worshippers.
Which,
yeah,
I mean, to be
they don't-
fair, could still mean that they're kind of chaos worshippers in a roundabout way. But
Yeah. Yeah, but these guys are really, really sweet. I love them.
They're-
I absolutely love them. They feel very Conan.
they're very unusual, aren't they? I mean, aesthetically, they're kind of removed from almost anything that's been in AOS before, which is really nice. It's good to see. Always up for that.
Yeah, that's I do love the Underworld's way of exploring different parts of AOS. It's a
Yeah,
really
me
cool.
too.
As much as we and Andy have played a fair chunk of Underworlds now, and I don't know.
It's so
Well, you
slow.
Yeah, but it just
Oh, is
doesn't work
it?
for
Is
me.
it a slow game system? Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought so, but it's
No,
it
you
feels, at least to when me and Gruff played the computer version, just plodding along.
Really? Oof. That's
Yeah.
sad.
I think the problem is it doesn't feel like you do very much.
No.
Right.
And that's where the issue lies for me. If it was a bit quicker and had maybe 10 turns instead of 3, maybe it would feel a bit better, but it didn't work for me. It doesn't
Nice.
really work for me.
But on the positive
But-
side, nice miniatures.
The miniatures are
Yes.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, was it
all
you guys who said that when the new Slaves to Darkness comes out, like most of the mortal like the non-chaos warrior units are going to be just the sort of tribes that they've
Yeah.
established. That's
Yeah,
kind
they're
of
from Warcry. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that's that's
Awesome.
pretty much what it is.
That makes me want to collect that army. It really
Mhm.
does. It's like, whoa, I love that. I love it.
Well, I've got a theory, but not a theory. I've got a feeling. What I really want to do is get the Slaves to Darkness book, and I want to build an army around the Ogroids.
Mm.
I love the Ogroids. The name, not so much, but the actual miniatures and the idea of them.
The idea
really
behind
like.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks
the
it looks possible now as well, doesn't it? With the various different Ogroid units that are out there, it looks fairly possible.
Well, you have the Ogroids, then you have the Cyclopean guys as the heavy hitters, and then you have a couple of units of humans.
Yeah, and there's also the thaumaturges which you can include from the from this book too, the wizards.
Yep.
So you know,
They're the
And
big
they're
bull
very
dudes,
good
aren't
price,
they?
Yeah.
The big bull dudes, right?
that's right. There.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me find the Ogroid thaumaturge. Yeah, they used to be part of Destruction, didn't they? Apparently, according to their background, and then they were betrayed, or they turned to chaos, or some shenanigans like that. Where is he?
Really cool. I
A
like them a
picture
lot.
of the miniature? That's a surprise.
Hey, it's not an old miniature. They
gotta be
are not old miniatures.
He has got to be in here. Oh, there he is. There he is. Ogroid thaumaturge at the bottom there.
Down.
You see him?
Down.
Boop, boop,
There you go.
Push the book down.
hey, boop.
It's out of
Oh, there
focus,
he
but
It's fine.
nothing we can do about that.
There we go. Boop.
Yeah, they're really,
That's
really
it,
cool.
Basically, they are cool, and they're very. I mean, these ones, the ones in the Zeech book, are particularly cool because they've got like all of the physical capabilities of the Ogroids, but they're also wizards as well.
Oh,
So-
Zinj, why not? Everything's a
Pretty
wizard.
good, right? Pretty, yeah. But no, I mean, I'm liking the stuff that's happening in AOS. I want it to have a bit more fanfare. As we've
Yes.
mentioned, I want it to have a bit more of like, whoa, like what 40k gets.
I'll be
Oh,
honest,
absolutely.
the aesthetic here doesn't do it for me. I remember seeing this and being like, oh, this is the thing that's coming along with the really cool undead.
Yeah.
I don't think, don't get me wrong, I don't think they're bad minis. It's just the aesthetic doesn't do a lot for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's my style either. To be honest,
Yeah.
it's not my thing. But it's one of those things where I'm glad they exist.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
they're
But,
well
like,
done. If there was an army like this, I guess it would kind of fill in the Nausicaan vibe, and that's fine. It's just Nausicaa was never my faction, really.
I think the best way to describe this, they remind me of Conan the animated series, and thus.
Yes, but removed from chaos. That's the key,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because that's what chaos used to be, right? Once upon a time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's kind of always been in the fantasy battle system, but it seems like they're subtly moving away from that now, which is probably a good thing because that's an old world thing, right? The North doesn't exist anymore, so
No.
that does make
I think, as we'll see later on, I think we'll be returning to that in the not too distant future. Probably
of course.
When something hits 40 years old. Speaking of chaos, this is something I'm really excited about, and this is the God Eater's Son. Now, recently, the AOS books have been, I'm not inclined to hyperbole here, fucking incredible. They have been absolutely knocking out of the park by simply playing with the concepts that we know. For example, the Drecky Flint book was a really good way of looking at a Caradron surrounded by Caradron who doesn't really run the Caradron by the code as we have in the Codex in the Warhammer Armies books. Battle tomes, that's what they're called now. Yeah, it's taking a look at the characters who are on the outside of that and thus making really interesting, engaging characters. I'm going through the Hollow King at the moment. Holy shit, the Hollow King is good. Well, it's a vampire who is noble. He's a soul who he basic concept of it is that he is a king who lost his kingdom to Zeech, which is how he turned to Nagash and became Soulblight. He keeps on his hands 9 rings. Each of these contains a soul that he saved from Zeech. Right? These are the last parts of his kingdom, and that's the thing that drives him forward. He hunts down this cult that killed his city, his kingdom. This happened 300 years ago. So anybody who's in the cult now is long dead. Like anybody who was there when he destroyed his kingdom is long dead, but he can't see it because of his immortal viewpoint on the world. So he is a completely fascinating character who very much the playing around with the mortal realms, seeing these different parts of mortal realms, understanding the metaphysics of how people can go and live in a realm of death. This is something that's explored in the Hollow King.
I like the sound of that. I really like the sound of that.
Yes,
that does sound fun.
Oh god, the bloody book starts with the torture scene of torturing a Zeechian cult member, and during the torture, the cult member realizes the steps that brought him to where he is, and he doesn't want to be there. He sees the 1,000 cuts that brought him to being damned.
Right.
It starts off from this very small, innocuous place of wanting to protect his family, and it just becomes this thing.
Well, thankfully, there's an audiobook version which I'll be able to get to eventually.
It's very good. It
does sound good, actually. I do like the sound of that.
Hamilcar Berries is another one. He's a great character. You've got the Stormcast who are on paper in the Stormcast battle tomes. They are the Imperious. They are, we are the supernatural force that's coming to protect you. Hamilcar Berries is the guy that goes around, takes a shit in the woods, and punches out bears. He's great. It's really cool characters. And what we have here is the question of what would drive a normal person to worship chaos. He is rejecting Sigmar, and for good reasons. And he just becomes this leader, but he himself doesn't see himself as being the bad guy. Yeah, he's not a damned soul. He's just, this is the choice I've had to make to survive.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I am absolutely all in, because if this is anywhere near the level, I mean, we have harped on about where AOS has not really been working over the last year.
Yeah.
It does mean I do need to put the flag down in the ground to say where AOS is working, and that is the novels. They have been
in fiction, right?
Absolutely. Outside of the Horus Heresy books, they have shut over everything that 40k's done for a long time now.
Interesting.
40k has had the Reign and Ruin books, which have been really good. The Necron King, Infinite and the Damned, Araman, and
the recent Araman, that was good.
Yeah, everything else that's come out 40k has been a little too the numbers 40k.
Generic kind of stuff, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there are things above that. I mean, like stuff like that. I've got the AdMech guy called the.
Oh, Belisarius.
Oh, yeah.
That book was amazing. But the AOS books have been absolutely fucking superb.
So what's God Eater's son about then? What's the gist of this book?
It's the story of the guy who has been through just war after war after war, and he's turned his back on Sigma, and he's embraced chaos. But this is the choices he's making in order to be his own person. To break away from the suffocating order of Sigma and to be his own person, to be his own. There's a word here I'm looking for, and it's completely gone out of my head. To have his own choices, basically.
Yeah, to have autonomy, basically. Yeah.
Autonomy. That's the word I was looking for. And that's a nice concept. That's a really nice concept.
That is fascinating, isn't it? To explore why a person might actively choose to follow one or more of the chaos powers.
Is he on his way to becoming a potential Everchosen?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
It sounds like not Archaon's story, but something similar.
Right? Like a similar arc.
Yeah, like it's this era's version of Archaon.
Because Archaon pretty much did the same thing, didn't they?
Yeah, and I don't know about the guys before Archaon, but they probably had sort of similar-ish journeys in a sense. I would imagine.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me.
The lowdown on it is really good. Let me find it. Here it is. When the Azarites descended from upon the burning valley, a kingdom carved from the Actrian desert, they brought arrogance and cruelty with their riches. But a god who seemed blind to it all, despite harrowing losses, clung to his people's ways, forging a new existence without a single prayer to the armored deity Sigma. Now, all held is the character, wants a solitude, but after saving a Sigmarite priestess from violent death, her troubles catch up to them and destroy the last of his peace. First broken, then enraged, he launches a brutal war of vengeance against Sigmar's worshippers and soon finds himself thrust against the Stormcast Eternals, led by the cunning strategist Ildred Stormsworn. Alone, he cannot hope to win, yet surrender would mean accepting the mercy of a god he despises. To defeat the Stormcasts and avenge his fate, Held must embrace older, darker powers. Must embrace older, darker powers that risk the very freedom for which he fights. But when Sigmar's rulers are tyrants and the champions of chaos prove worthy, which path is the most righteous? And once this choice is made, who will Heldenhar become?
It sounds interesting. Yeah,
I do like
really
that idea.
does.
Yeah. I can see one bad thing though. I don't see a audiobook version for Audible. It doesn't mean there won't be one, but
this has just been announced.
How long did it take for Gloomspite to get an Audible version?
Yeah.
And how many other books have you said that really good Age of Sigmar ones have not been put on Audible? A lot.
Yeah, there's a fair few. Yeah, it's a shame. But this one doesn't even have a release date yet. This is just its announcement, so it's going to be another big.
Have you read anything by Noah before?
I'm sure I have. I can't think what.
Okay.
The name sounds. I mean, it's Noah van Nagayan.
He wrote
that's a name that's
Warhammer Crime. I believe Warhammer 40,000 Crime. I think he did.
Possibly Noah van.
Well, there haven't been too many crime books, have there? So
no. It does ring a bell, but I can't remember where from.
I would even say the last name, Nguyen.
So he's written The Last Crucible, Everqueen for Age of Sigmar, Monsters for Age of Sigmar.
Everqueen was okay.
Yes, so he wrote stuff for the Black Library Advent Calendar 2021, which is where I was reading those as they were coming out.
Yeah.
Mr. White asks a question. This is from the description. I'm guessing he's asking this. Is this a story of a person looking to chaos for good?
Looks to be that way, yeah. It looks
not
like it's an exploration of someone like falling to chaos through noble intentions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he'll be disappointed if he's trying to find quote unquote good. He'll find autonomy in chaos.
Yeah.
To a point.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For,
I think it's
for a relative definition.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the question of being between the two parts, isn't it? Yeah. You've got the chaos going to whispering all the things that you want, and you're saying we can't have any of it because I need to keep you safe.
I mean, that is the interesting dynamic between Sigmar and the Chaos Gods, isn't it? Sigmar is the god of order, but he's also the god of repression, right?
Yes.
So it depends on what you consider to be more evil, really.
Yeah. Right.
You also have that problem with chaos as well, because the chaos powers, certainly when you're dedicated to one of them, part of their blessing is that they alter your perspectives over time. So, like Nurgle followers, for example, they don't bemoan their conditions. They love it.
Well, eventually they don't bemoan.
Eventually, it takes a while, but when you get there, it's genuine. You actually do feel that it's wonderful and beautiful and fantastic. So the same is true of the Hedonites, of Slaanesh. When you eventually get there, everything is welcome. Doesn't matter what it is. Everything is welcome. Everything is a source of joy and brilliance and wonder. So,
Perspective is reality.
Perspective is reality, yeah. That's even more true in this universe, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah.
Where belief alters physical reality.
Yeah.
Right?
To move us on to the next story, because I've just seen that we're getting on to a really late finish tonight. So I'll just quickly go through the next two, and then we'll get on to the last big story. So I'm going to go to the Battletome Ogre Tribes next, which that's out.
It's a Battletome. It's out.
It's a Battletome. It's out. It's the Ogres. There they are.
Yeah, there they are.
Same old models. Not even one new character, seemingly.
No.
Poor Ogres.
No. I've watched the Lore Masters episode, and nothing new has really changed. But still, I mean, the idea is still pretty cool.
It's
it's fine.
It's cool they're there. It's fine. It's nice to see them getting a little bit of love for a change. Well, having at least a new book, which is surprising in and of itself, really.
It is. I mean, there's lots there that's really cool. They're definitely there. And I'm really happy that the Ogre players, because there seems to be a lot of them, and that surprises me. So
it's cool. It's nice to see it for that, if nothing else.
Yeah. And over in Warcry, just to bounce straight over to there, we're getting, which is really interesting, the first non-chaos Warcry. So, yes, it's a.
Oh, that's cool. So it's starting to filter in at long last, yeah.
Yeah, it's a chameleon skink. So.
Oh yes, I remember seeing him in the rumor engine.
It's really interesting, actually.
He's cool, actually. What a great miniature.
What was the chameleon skink who lived in the Chaos Realms for years and years and years hunting guys? What was he called?
Oh God.
You know who I mean.
I do know who you mean.
Yeah. I'd like to check, because I do have the DLC from, but I don't want to mess up the stream.
I cannot remember for the life of me.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is that's the idea behind having this in this game, because it feels like it, because he's a skink, he's a chameleon with a blow dart, and I'm there. It's cool. I like him.
It's cute. It's a very nice
Oxyotl,
that's his name. Yep,
Oxyotl.
And it's like, I'm sure like people who are like, man, wouldn't it be nice for a new Seraphon miniature or miniatures, hopefully? Well, here you go, you got one.
I mean, we've seen a couple of rumor engines that look really like Seraphon. I think when the Seraphon do hit for 3.0, there'll at least be one or two new miniatures, which would be nice.
Are they going to rewrite the lore for them to stop being made of starlight? Because they're clearly not.
I kind of think
they're still just dinosaurs.
Yeah, they have.
Okay.
Yeah,
they kind of still
the idea
are
is
starlight, but it's not quite as simple as that anymore, is it?
So basically, how it works is that the pyramids are still floating around, but they
Mhm.
still have these memories of soldiers that they can call upon. But what they've been doing is they've been spawning new physical skinks and saurus and all those type of things. And there's spawning pits now in the mortal realms as well. So the starlight ones are still there, but they're vastly outnumbered by the amount of life born that are currently happening.
I'm
So
sure
there you go.
Slaanesh was really happy about the spawning period.
I'm sure.
Well, how I understand it, it's not what you might think. It's literally just a big old magical spawning pit, and they just put all the ingredients in.
Oh, that's boring, isn't it?
Wow.
Slaanesh would not be pleased by that.
Where's
No,
the
very much
segs?
the opposite.
Slaanesh would be offended.
I am offended by your lack of bonking. So yeah, which leads us into the final story, which is a update on Warhammer: The Old World.
Yeah, wow.
Happening. It's a thing. I'm a little bit
Lovely to see the
surprised.
Tomb King's artwork. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bretonians, Tomb Kings, Orcs. Didn't see this coming because I honestly thought that this was going to be Empire versus Empire games.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was because it's set through the time of the what the hell do you call it? Is it the Six Kingdoms or something like that? The Six Emperors?
Oh, yes,
Oh.
it's when the empire is fractured, isn't it? Into
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's like competing emperors for the throne. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's when this is set. So I thought that was going to be basically much like how Horus Heresy was Marines versus Marines. I thought that's how they were going to do this because if it's going to be a Forge World game, that's a lot of resin. Okay, I've looked at what they're doing now, and it's pretty fucking smart, to be honest with you. We'll come back to that in a second. So yeah, what we actually found out is no, there's a lot more to it. We've got Bretonia, proper Bretonia. We've got the Tomb Kings, and we have Orcs. Holy mother of God, this is going to be a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
It's a ball boy.
It is a ball boy, yeah. Honest to God, ball boy.
What a fun word to say.
It is a fun word.
Boy.
Ball boy biggins as well. That's even more fun.
There's some really interesting stuff going down on the map. So if you go to the map, you'll see that some things have been moved around, some things.
I was going to say the shape of the old world is slightly different, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, they've done some really interesting things here. You just moved stuff around. You've got a couple of things here. It's difficult to see. I'm just trying to zoom in as much as I can. Really difficult to do. But damn it, it's not working.
Oh wow, it has
really
moved
easy on the
around.
phone. Yeah. There's a couple of interesting little things going on here. For example, there's a big empty space where there's a crater. There it is, the Plains of Zar. Now, we all know what lives in the Plain of Zar, don't we?
Pigs?
No. That's where Hashut is. That's the
I was going to
city
say,
of
that's
Hashut.
where the Chaos Dwarfs live, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought they were in the
above that-
mountains. Are they not in mountains? Are they not?
No.
Oh.
No. The Chaos Dwarfs are out in the desert.
Oh.
And what's really cool that above that is Zorn Uxil, which is where Astrogoth comes from.
Interesting.
Is a little
Very
bit.
interesting.
So the fact that they're down there on the map, it's not just that the areas there, because there's loads of blank areas. But the fact that they've got those names down on those bits makes me very interested.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? Because surely they wouldn't have bothered unless there is potential for the Chaos Dwarfs to actually be here.
Yeah, which, okay, really excited. There is a couple of different symbols for the different dwarf kingdoms, which is cool, which makes me think that the dwarves are going to have a little bit of a foothold in this. There is Skarsnik over in the World Edge Mountains. Skarsnik symbols there. That makes me very happy. There's a couple of different orc tribes, including yeah, Gorbad, that's down there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
That Grimgore's
very
one,
cool.
go bad.
Not Grimgore, way before Grimgore, Gorbad.
Oh,
Have I got that the right way around? I think we got that the right way around.
I was like,
Grimgore.
Grimgore won't be born for a while yet, will he?
No, Grimgore's Grimgore's the one that headbutted Archeon, isn't it?
Archeon,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gorbad. What was the other one I noticed? There was something else. What else? Right up at the top, there's a.
Isn't this around? This is around the time Heinrich Kemmler would be wandering around as well, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Interesting.
Very, very interesting. There's a little sign over here, just out of Pretoria, and it's a skull and crossbones with a pirate patch. I don't know what that is.
Oh, are they going to introduce like a new undead faction?
maybe
to
they'll do the
pirate?
Vampire Coast finally.
Yeah,
Possibly.
could
Could be
be.
Vampire
Could
Coast.
be.
It could be a pirate mercenary faction. I don't know.
You could get, what's his name? Luther Harcourt?
Luther
Yeah.
Harkin. Yeah.
Harkin. Yeah. Yeah, because he could be pretty much over here. I think the Banshee lady can't be because she needs to be further over to the west, closer to the High Elves, because she's got beef with them. And Nocturne, I think, is it Nocturne? What's his name?
Yeah, Nocturne.
Noctus, something like that. He's further over to the west as well.
Yeah. There's some other stuff here which is really hard to see because the.
I love how you blow up the image and it doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah, I know. It's been done on purpose, hasn't it? There's little wax symbols dotted all over the place. Little, like orc, the orc cow head, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the place. What else is there? There's a symbol that I've never come across before, and it's a singular eye surrounded by spikes. I'm going to guess chaos, but
I'm assuming that's chaos of some description.
Yeah.
It might be.
High elves. Maybe not.
But I don't know what it could be representing. It's chaos of some description, but God knows what. Loads of freaking Kislev, absolutely tons of Kislev stuff coming down into the...
Noticeably not anything from Tilia, Stalia, or Skavenblight. That region is barren for symbols at the moment.
Really interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
What else is going to be coming out of that? What I really like is how much...
What is this going to be? Is it is it just like an entire new game system where they're going to release armies and miniatures?
It might be really irritating, like the Horus Heresy, where they give you a decent amount of plastic kits and then go, "Oh, you want the really cool ones? You gotta buy the resin." Which is what Horus Heresy seems to be. You want Lucius the Eternal? Yeah, you got to get the resin version.
You got to get the damn resin one.
Yeah, it's like, no, just make it all plastic. No one knows why Forge World exists. No one knows.
But here's my interesting take on something. We know that Cities of Sigmar is coming in AOS, which means they're retiring all of the plastic kits for the Empire, right? Which means my guess would be that they're going to repurpose them for this.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to do the Empire.
That would make enormous sense.
Yeah, so you've got yourself an already built-in massive amount of miniatures in plastic, in sets that you can get out. Perfect. My guess would also be that they're going to go back and probably repurpose some of the older plastic kits. So the orc sets and stuff like that. That would make perfect sense. You've got them right there. Just put them out.
Yeah.
They're probably going to pull the hard boys out of AOS, would be my guess, and turn them back into the Black Orcs for this.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Makes perfect sense to me. What I'm hoping for, I don't think it'll happen, but what I'm hoping for is stuff like the Night Goblin set from AOS and the Skaven set from AOS will get pulled and put into this, and we get a different take on that for AOS.
Interesting.
What would actually be more likely to happen is that they'll pull double duty. The AOS Old World double duty box sets would be my guess. But it make more sense to me to pull them, put them in AOS, and have new versions of those for AOS because they need to be updated to be AOSified.
Yes, of
The
course.
Last Goblin one, especially, because that is really freaking not fitting now.
It's quite old, isn't it?
Well, it's quite old, and it works perfectly for rank and file, but in a skirmish setting, it becomes very boring very fast.
Yeah.
Because they're all exactly the same, which is one of those things. So I said ages and ages ago, I'll be interested to see what this looks like, but I very much doubt I'll get into it.
I
It's
can tell you one thing that will maybe not get you into it, but you'll go, ooh, new Thanquil,
Awesome, yeah.
brand new Thanquil.
Well, Thanquil wouldn't be around yet.
I think they'll, give me a Vladin and Isabella, I'll be happy.
Well, that's something else I'm thinking, that if it's set during this time, that's just as well to look over Sylvania.
I was going to say that the von Carsteins would be the principal undead army at this point. So that would make enormous sense. In fact, not just Vlad and Isabella, but the rest of the clan as well.
Yeah.
This is pre-Manfred, though, isn't it? Is Manfred around at this point?
It is, yeah. No, Manfred's no Manfred yet.
Yeah, I
Not
didn't
yet.
think so.
No.
Not yet.
This is about the time when
Maybe Conrad
Vlad
eventually.
was.
Yeah, more Conrad.
Yay!
Yeah.
Few
This would be about
Belfry.
the
Yay!
I mean, part of this story would be the zombie emperor that with Vlad von Karl and Kemlemex to try and get him on the throne that fails miserably.
Yeah. What a great idea, though, right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, if nothing else, I'll definitely be picking up the book.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't be that bothered about the game itself because it's for me it's done. You know, the fantasy, the old world is done. But I am interested to see what they do with it, what it becomes. You know,
I'm interested in seeing it being rebuilt from the ground up.
Yeah.
Rather than it being built upon, as it has been, as it was for many, many years, until the end where it became a little bit, not just the game itself, but the world was very unwieldy. It needed streamlining quite badly.
It needed shattering, which is what happened.
Well, yeah. I always say I think it would be really interesting to do everything, keep it on the old world, and then make the post-apocalyptic version of the old world. And then you continue it that way. And as much as I love AOS, and I do, I think that would have been a really cool way of going.
Yes, that would be fascinating because we do know, of course, that like that portion of the old world still exists, like the soul of the old world still exists.
Yeah, Malice. Yeah, the sphere of Malice. Yeah, that's still kicking around. I just can't believe that the fucking Chaos it's actually named, and it's just oh, hello.
Hello.
Well, it looked like
you up in the top corner.
We do. I mean, we know they're coming in AOS at some point. I mean, they've been so mooted, you know. It does make sense for them to occur here too.
Oh, you are too small.
That's what she said.
That's it's difficult to make out. So yeah, right above Zorn Uzgo, there is something that looks like a Skaven claw mark.
Oh, I see that, yeah.
I
can't get enough of a itch to be able to get anything out.
Yeah, it won't zoom in enough for me either.
No, I've been poring over this map for days. It's I'm loving it. I love the fact that things have been moved around.
Yeah, I quite like that too.
Yeah, it gives you this real feeling of what is this going to be.
Yeah,
it's actually got me excited.
Yeah, it's a little bit more intriguing, isn't it? There's a little bit more dynamism going on.
When you say stuff's been moved around, what do you mean? Because when I look at this, I see the tall Warhammer map. This doesn't look that different from that.
Cities and things, and the way that they've moved the topography around a little bit. So the World's Edge Mountains, for example, they're going back a little bit further. There's a couple of areas that moved around, not much, but it just gives you a better smattering, so to speak. Like the Plain of Zar, that's been moved up slightly, and it's closer to Zorno's Gold than it used to be. The forest looks like it's a bit bigger. Obviously, this is because it's way, way, way in the past compared to where Total War is. But yeah, it's all little things like that, and it just like the one thing I really like is there's a high elf symbol in the bay.
Oh god, they're not doing
over-
the high elves again, are they?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course they're going to be doing the high elves again.
Yeah.
Oh, so dull.
Oh, absolutely they are. But that's the symbol of
So-
Teclis, so I'm assuming he's on a shipwreck after he tried to mock it.
I mean, that's going to be a difficult thing for them to do. That's going to be a hard sell when you the fact that you have the Lumineth, who is so
Yes.
interesting and so beautiful in AOS, to sell the high elves now is going to be really tricky.
I
They're gonna
don't
have
think
to
it
work
will
it
be, because it's just your classic Tolkien elf, and I think people are
They are,
alright
that's
with that.
exactly what they are. But they're kind of boring. You know, aesthetically, they're just so dull compared to what's going on in AOS.
I still think there will be people that want that aesthetic, because again, they are a popular army in Total War Warhammer, so it's like people.
Are they?
Yeah. Well, they're really good at range. They've got incredible ranged bow.
Well,
and
the same as they were in Fantasy Battle.
yeah,
then, you know.
the magic's pretty good.
Again.
They're not like they're not like the best army, but they're pretty strong. They can be strong.
Oh yeah, I mean, like back in Fantasy Battle, the High Elves were usually pretty devastating. They
Yeah.
were a good army to take. They were just boring.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything that we've got. I was going to do
Yeah.
a 60-second dungeon, but I think we have gone for
I think we're
long enough tonight. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think we're pretty much tapped out now.
Yep.
Nearly 2.5 hours. That's not bad.
Yeah, we did all right.
That's
I think we did
solid.
all right. There was more to cover than I thought. Actually, I was quite surprised.
Yeah. There's been a good smattering of stuff, and I've very much enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring these things to a close. We'll start with Andy. Where can people find you if so wish to catch you with a giant butterfly net and you in constantly infinites?
You can find me on YouTube as DecayedAndy, on Twitch as DecayedAndy, on the Moonbase 2 podcast, which if you go to Google and put in Moonbase 2 Transformers podcast, you'll probably find me. And yeah, that's it for the most part, I think.
Excellent. George, if people were to take a blind disc of each and to suck in all of your essence and become one with the very soul that
Oh,
beats
God.
darkly underneath the skin, where would they do that?
Well, to do all of that, you'd have to come to the Exaggerated Elegy channel on YouTube. There's something going down Sunday of this week at 7:30 p.m. Something very, very cool is happening then. Can't tell you what it is, but just come along to the channel and have a look, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Apart from that, there are links to all of my published work over at strangeplaygrounds.com. Most recently, the 2 volumes of Born in Blood, 2 short story collections that I'm very, 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 very pleased with. And apart from that, if you want to come and chat with me, you can do so over at Twitter on an enigmatic elegy.
What about you, Gruff?
Myself. As for myself. That's about it now. As for myself, I'm not really doing very much other than working on the Fluffenhammer, which has had its daily updates now. There has been an article out every single day for 4 months.
Oh, that's good.
Is an achievement.
That's
I am
pretty
really
cool.
pleased with myself. It's a mixture of old articles and new articles. On weekends, I get out 3 articles every day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there are 3 releases every day, all brand new. The rest of the week is a continuation of just old articles being re-released. That way, you never miss anything, and you always get something every single day of the week. I'm so good to you. Over on Patreon, we've started to be called the Fluffen Nation, where I get Preston's giant butterfly net and grab somebody from the community, discuss things, topics, stuff, whatever. We play a bit of music, and it's all rather good fun. This month's was HDE, the comic book letterer, talking about RPGs, kind of, and also Rush. We talked a lot about Rush. I've never talked that much about Rush in my life, but we talked about Rush. Outside of them, there's not really much else. You can check out a huge collection of artwork and audiobook stuff that I've done over at adnickel.weebly.com. And obviously, yeah, the Patreon is patreon.com/the Fluffenhammer. Come and join us. Also, money, please, because this is bad times and we all need money. but I'm just going to be on bended knees at this point. Please, money. But if you can't afford to join the Patreon, that's completely understandable because these are indeed hard times. But go out, share the word, share what we do, share everything that we do. Go on, it's share, like, subscribe, smash that fucking bell. I don't know how people do these things anymore. I hate asking people to do this stuff, but I've noticed the algorithm keeps burying us at the moment. So give us reviews. Go on. Give us 5-star reviews because we're here entertaining you in the best way that we can. Whether we succeed or not is entirely up to you. So, we love you. Thank you. Please make us 5 stars and stuff. I'm done begging. Help us. We're just poor little orphans. We're the podcast that walks past and an old man sticks his head out and goes, "You little boy, what day is it?" And we say, "Okay, I don't know. We're a podcast." He's like, transcendental podcast is the shape of a small boy. You know that butchers down the road. We say, no, we fucking don't. We're a podcast. We don't know what we're on about. He said, throws us gold coins and says, go buy the biggest turkey. And we're like, fuck off, we're a podcast. That's us. Night.